I mean? Seafaring.
Hello and welcome to episode 87 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul on our end of season edition of Celtic Rumours TV. On tonight's show we will have Barry Iceman from our forum page, the podcast, Brian Welchie Boy, Terence Tear 161, Michael Dundee, John JFP, all the lads who have been on the podcast throughout the season and who have been with Mark and myself in helping us bring this podcast along throughout the season. On tonight's show, we will look at yesterday's 6-0 victory over Motherwell, the season as a whole as Celtic are crowned champions, goal of the season, player of the season. We will look at two great servants to the club in Bitton and Bitton Rogic, who have decided that their Celtic careers are coming to an end after both players came out this week and stated that they won't be staying at Celtic beyond this season. Firstly though, I'll hang on to Mark and Mark will do a few shout outs.
Thanks very much, Paul. Usual shout outs to some of the lads for the forum, Tim Alloy, Campsy Boy, Richie and his family. Richie was just noticed an email from him earlier on, Paul. He was back at the hospital on Friday, I think it was. If they can help him, he's got a bit of some decisions to make with his family kind of thing, what kind of route they're going to go down, but it's still a bit positive, do you know what I mean? So just keep on fighting the good fight, Rich, you know what I mean? We're all rooting for you. See Jabber's in, I hear Jabber got a bit of a lesson on FIFA the other day off of Mikey as well. I've been advised playing Mikey too often at that Jabber.
I think that serves him right for challenging Mikey on the thing. Even I know not to do that, Mark, and I don't play it.
You don't even play it. Brian, and thanks for coming in again, Brian. Brian's he pops onto the forum as well. Terence is coming on. OG from Glasgow, welcome in. For 554 subs now. Thanks to everybody that subs. If you've not subscribed and you're listening, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you know how, leave a comment and underneath the video as well. And a link to everything else, the forum, our Discord and everything, that's on the description box below as well.
I also, Mark, before you began the lads, I also noticed what Brian put up on the forum page. In case the forum page of the podcast is www.celticrumours.co.uk. He's after putting his clothes back into the cupboard. So, Brian,
he just joined a live chat a few weeks ago, Paul. Yeah. He was even getting me a nervous wreck listening to him on that.
I tell you what, yeah, we actually do, just in case people are wondering, like myself and Mark actually do read things on the forum, and we try a lot just to kind of crow things that's happening in the forum throughout the podcast, throughout the season. So Mark, while you're bringing on the lads, you have a bit of work to do, trying to get them all on at once. So
right. Is Welshie coming on, aye?
If we can get through to him, if
he's alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'll go and get him on, right, bud?
So Celtic's last game of the season was against Motherwell at Celtic Park. And to say Celtic ran riot is an understatement. 6 goals, Celtic won 6-0. Goals from 2 from Kyogo, David Turnbull, Jota, and 2 from Gia Marcus. Celtic said they were going to plan the show at the end of the season, and Ange was a man of his word. The stats for the game were shots, Celtic 15 to Motherwell 6. On target, Celtic had 8 to Motherwell's 1. Possession, Celtic had 79 to Motherwell's 21. Passes, we had 691 to Motherwell's 187. Pass accuracy was 91% for Celtic to Motherwell's 69%. Who do we have on, Max, first? All on.
I'm just dialing them up, Paul. Give me a second, bud.
So
some performance yesterday, Paul.
Unbelievable, Mark. If you're talking about putting on a show before lifting the trophy, it's like some players, Mark. We'd excuse some players, Mark, for not even showing up yesterday. The league is done. We're champions.
That's I mean, it's a dead rubber game kind of thing. I've seen a few of them over the years, Paul.
Exactly, Mark. Yes,
it's played out like kind of friendly, kind of pacing that. But I thought Celtic were brilliant yesterday.
Brilliant, gents, Mark. No one took. But Mark, this is coming down to Ange. Do you mean this has come down to a manager? No matter if it's a friendly.
People are still paying their money to get in, Paul, and things like that. You've got to remember things like that as well.
Well, he doesn't let the standards drop, Mark, either. Do you know what I'm saying? He wants the complete performance of these players. It doesn't matter what type of game it is. He wants to win. And you can see that, Mark, like, from crossed Ange after the game yesterday and stuff like that. Like this Celtic team is, for me, is only beginning.
I think you're right. That sounds a lot. Mikey didn't answer there, but Barry, can you hear us all right?
Yeah, here, guys.
Aye, thanks for coming on, Barry. What about you, Jai? John, can you hear us? John, you've got your mic muted. You're muted. And Terence, that's you now, John. Got you now, John. Thanks for coming on. Terence, all right? Aye.
Yeah, all good.
Good man. Welshie.
I'm here.
Thanks for coming on, you two as well. I thought you'd have been AWOL, Welshie, bud.
No movement at my bed though.
There was some scenes, Welchie, because you were at the match, and JFP, you were at the match yesterday. Did you go to the match?
Aye, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the best days, Paul, I've ever had it.
Yeah, because I wanted to say that to you. I just want to talk to JFP first, lads, because he hasn't been on for a while due to work commitments and stuff like that. But JFP, like myself and Mark, when we talked with Brian, we were talking about Barry and Terence Shokes, and we said there's something about this title win that's special. You know what I mean? Like, the way we won last season, do you know what I mean? And the way a whole new team came in, like it's unbelievable what one man did to a club.
Has anybody, I don't know if he's managed to see, there's a video doing the rounds, Angie flying in. I don't know if you've seen it in the plane. Hibs in the plane lands, and it shows you the players walking off the park last year, and Holmes and McGregor as well. When the day we lose the league, I think I almost forgot myself just how black it was last year.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it shows you Angie landing, and then it takes you right up to yesterday. It's absolute what a day, what a season, what a man, what a club. Just fantastic, great.
I mean, even they put on, like, it was a thrashing yesterday to Motherwell. Like, Motherwell were a team who, like, they got Europe, like, but they wanted to finish fourth in the table, like, but Celtic were having none of that JFP yesterday. Like, they just kept going. Like, it's like from the minute Ange, like you said, the minute Ange came in, it didn't matter what game it was. Celtic were out there to win yesterday.
I think what you get, I think what comes across very much for Angie is that he knows that these guys that are sitting in the stand here are working hard to get there, spending money. He knows that it's about. I don't know how many times you've heard him saying it. It's about people for Angie and leaving memories for people. He knows what Celtic means to us. And you know, he would demand nothing less than them. I think their attitude yesterday in terms of the football they played, the 2 goals for Kyogo, outstanding, world class. The pace they played it, and the fact that the league was won last week was just phenomenal. What a way! Watching Glasgow Celtic putting on a show right enough, Paul.
Like Barry, just what John was saying there, Barry. About the goals. We've seen some special goals throughout many years of Celtic, but for me, we've seen 2 special goals this year from Kyogo. We saw one in the League Cup final, and we saw something similar yesterday. It's just like what he brings to the team and his pace, and he knows where the ball's going to be as well. You know, they were outstanding goals yesterday, and let's not take it away from Ralston as well with an assist. And I'm going to talk about Ralston later on the show. But Kyogo, that goal was just magnificent.
I think, Paul, I'm going to contradict myself here, but and I can't make my mind up myself. I'm on record as saying that I think Kyogo is the best we've had since Larsson, and I'm not going to contradict myself and say I would start Giakoumakis before him. And Angie needs to find a way for me to play the 2 of them together in the one team. You need to get your best players on the park.
I agree with that, John. Me and Paul were talking about this other night as well.
Need to get your best players on the park, Mark. You need to find a way of playing Kyogo and see let Kyogo feed off the scraps.
But do you think now that, like Barry, you played football, you know the kind of formations, Barry. Do you think now maybe with Tom Rogic going that maybe Kyogo can slip in behind G Marcus in that role?
No, not for me. Not for me. The only way for me that the 2 of them play together is
change formation,
change the system, and play 2 of them up front. I just think for me, Kyogo, he is an exceptional footballer, but for me, he's a number 9. He is a number 9. He plays on the shoulder of that defender. You know, you look at his second goal yesterday. You look at his goal for the cup final. 2
special goals, Barry. I wanted 2 special goals. Like
it's brilliant, and he's so lively. And you know what? We're just like sort of John was saying. We're very, very fortunate that we've got 2 exceptional strikers, 2 very different strikers, and it is a difficult one because you know Giakoumakis brings so much to the team in terms of his physicality. You know, he matches Kyogo in work rate. Okay, he's not got the pace that Kyogo's got, but he certainly works that. Again, he's an out-and-out number 9. He's up there challenging the physical side of the game. You know, for me, if we're going to play 2, play them both in the same team, I don't want to see Kyogo in the number 10, or I certainly don't want to see him out wide because I just think it's not his game. I think we'll lose something. So Ange's going to change up his formation to put both of them in. I don't know. I very much doubt it. But for me, it's a good problem to have 2 exceptional strikers at the football club. It's a great headache to have.
He did hint just before the derby like that. Why can't 2 of them play together? Maybe he might try it in pre-season, Barry, see how it goes. You know.
Yeah, he could. I mean, like I say, for me, it would be the way they would have to do it is probably a 3-5-2. That's the only, unless he was to play them out of position, unless he was to play Kyogo out wide. But like I say, he tried that at Ibrox and he held his hands up and says he got that completely wrong.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the problem, Barry. Like, I'm with you on this. Like, you can't take Kyogo out of the position that he's in because it's not just what he does, but he makes up space for other players to come into that.
He's a very, very intelligent football player.
Yeah, that's
Paul.
like,
You could actually,
exactly.
you know, he was actually making me think. I tell you who, a totally different type of player, but I remember thinking the same thing with Dalglish. His head was away ahead of everybody else round about him, and you almost get the same feeling with Kyogo. That first goal he scores yesterday, the first one he scores for I'm right behind that post, and every man and their dog's expecting a cross in, and he turns around and he puts it in at the.
He'd no right to score that, JP. Like,
no chance. And the second
right,
one,
like, you know what I mean?
the second one, the ball for Tony, Airdrie's finest, Tony Ralston, the one he takes first time for that one, absolutely.
An interesting fact about Mark, I said this to you last night. Mark asked me there, but Brian, you were on the podcast there during the week, and when Mark asked me how does Ralston fare with his assist in Europe. So across all Europe, he's 24 across all Europe between all players, and for right backs, he's ranked 4th across all Europe for assists. Like, this is a player, Brian, who was wrote off by previous managers, who was never given a chance. But like, I'm a big believer, Mark, and we've said it, like, and we said about Barkas here. Barkas could go away and be outstanding at another club. You know what I mean? It's just like
sometimes moves just don't work out
exactly
for players.
You know, but Radisson bought into Ange, and he just brilliant, and his assist proves like what he actually does bring to the team, Brian, don't this?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Ralston is one of the players. There's a big feel-good factor about the club just there as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't. If you think how Ralston might have fared last season compared to this season, it's chalk and cheese with the teams they're playing in. I still don't see Ralston being first choice either, though.
No.
But going back to your talking about Giakoumakis and Kyogo, I think the way that Ange's setting us up is the system's never going to change. It's light for light slotting in, so he's only ever going to play the one of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll change his thing with that,
but Mark,
drastically.
Do you know what we were saying then?
I think that's Mikey joined us as well, but he's only got about half an hour, Paul.
Maybe Mark, that he might play him for certain games. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's what it's going to be, like horses for courses kind of thing, Paul. Maybe for certain games it's going to be Kyogo, for certain games it's going to be Giakoumakis, and then at the 60-minute mark it seems to be like Angie's sub-time, doesn't it? It'll be one, whoever starts will be off and the other one will come on. I think that's why he's maybe just going to go.
It's the same in the midfield. He does the same thing there, doesn't he? He rotates in the midfield.
No, it's just like for like all the time, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's one in, one out, but it never changes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Terence, like we've seen some magnificent Celtic players performances throughout the season, but for me, I think yesterday's game was just from start to finish. They were out to do a job and put on a show for us. Like the lads were saying there, it was just an extraordinary way to finish the season, like, wasn't it?
It was, Paul, but it just goes to show you the mentality that the manager has. The mentality that he had was, I don't care if the league is won. Yeah, I'm not going to let the standard slip. I'm not, and as he says, we never stop, as he says, and he said that after the Dundee United game, he said he's expecting a performance, and he got a performance, and that's what he has. He's instilled that into the players, that they go to the very, very end. They go to the 90 minutes, 95 minutes, as he said at the start of the season, and he won't accept mediocrity. He won't accept players not putting in the shift, and he's got the rewards, and Celtic have got the rewards, and we've got the rewards of watching a fantastic team playing fantastic football with a manager that has really bought into the whole Celtic thing, and he shows he cares, and that's huge. And and the players have come across that they care, and he's made players that a lot of people would have thought, oh, I'm not sure about this guy, or I'm not sure about that guy. And like, it's just, the lads are there about talking about Tony Ralston, or Joe Hart, you know, certain other people coming in, and you're not sure of. I mean, they've been exceptional. They've been absolutely exceptional, every one of them, and that's down to the manager, no question about it.
In fact, they are extraordinary stats for Anthony Ralston, though, aren't they? In fairness to him, like, you know, what a player to turn his Celtic career. Like, the only reason he got this year's contract is because we had no one, at the start of the season. Or,
Me, Paul, I grabbed it with both hands, Paul. We spoke about it all season. He's like a brand new signing. I mean, he really is. There's no other words for it. He really is just he's unrecognisable with the player that we saw a couple of years ago that went to Dundee United. I think was St Johnson for a while as well or something as well. Never really.
He doesn't even dip. He's been consistent, to be fair to him.
No, that's it as well. It's always like it's like he's a 7 every week, isn't it? He's like 7 or an 8 every week. He never
dropped, Mark.
No,
never dropped.
no. Like
I think
Welsh
the
says,
biggest,
your consistency.
the biggest tribute you can pay him, I think, to Ralston, I think, is Juranovic is a fantastic player. I mean, he's had a fantastic season. Apart from 10 minutes at Ibrox at the start of the game, he's a fantastic football player. And yet, when he get injured there, you're not overly concerned because you know that Ralston's more than capable to come in and do a job.
Do you mean like if you compare Michael, that when Michael's with us, you said, Mark, ain't he? Michael,
Mikey's here, aye.
Yeah, like compare Michael to like really when Lusting's left the club, and throughout the end of kind of Lusting's career as well, he was losing things. Like we were always worried about this position, and now we have 2 exceptional players in Ralston and Jovanovic there.
I think Juranovic is Ralston's going to.
Mikey, your mic's off, jumpy.
I was just on it. Is it not working right?
Oh no, that's it now. That's it now.
No, like Juranovic is a lot clearer in that position. Like it's good that we've got Ralston and that there. Like, but going forward in Europe and that, I think, like he says, Juranovic will be key in that position. We just need to get back up for the left back now. Like it says, it was quite strange. Like that guy that was for Hammarby, that Jihatsa, they were meant to be getting, that was meant to be overlined, but according to and the player himself, none of them know anything about it unless that's just them trying to play the game. Like
scored a screamer the day for them.
I don't know, lads, I'm on Discord. I put up a Discord as well, and this fella's just after scoring a screamer for this Swedish team he plays for there today, and he does look a player, but I mean, like, but that's
just before you move on, but Paul, Mikey's not here for long. You want to talk about what happened at Tannadice, Mikey?
Yeah, like I said, I didn't want to really bring down the tone of the celebration and everything that's going on. If you're wanting us to crack on, Mark, I'm happy.
You might as well.
Walk away,
You're just on you go, Mikey. This is Welshie. Unless you've got Welshie, just thank God you didn't got to meet Mikey. That's what I said to Mikey. Wait till you hear this, Welshie.
So obviously, people that are on the website will know. Obviously, I had a few tickets for the home end for Wednesday night, and obviously I've been to a few United games anyway because I go with Jonas if I can't get through to see Celtic, because the way I see it is a game of football is a game of football, is it? But unfortunately, me and one of my United supporting pals, Jordan, needed to leave at half time because of this disgusting sectarian abuse that was getting through our way. Not personally at me, because nobody would have knew me sitting in that end if what I was, but there was about 40 to 50 shouts plus. I didn't really want to swear on anything, but of dirty Fenian B, and I've never ever been so shocked and appalled in my life at the. I've never been so taken back by a bunch of fans ever. I've never experienced or heard that ever before. But the sheer derogatory and disgusting nature coming from the fans was an absolute
I'm
joking.
Just very surprised, Mikey, that happened. When we've been on here with Jonas, and the way he was talking about his players getting abuse off certain teams in the SPL, and their own fans are doing it then, you know what I mean?
Well, I say I've reported it obviously to who it's meant to, but like it says, one of the most
another wee guy was a Dundee United fan, went to Mike, and he couldn't sit and listen to it.
Well, Jordan, like it says, he's a Roman Catholic like myself, and his dad is a diehard Celtic supporter, and Jordan supports Dundee United because he was born in Dundee, so he picked his local side, but even he says he'll never ever be back to Tannadice just on the abuse alone. But it's been reported to the police and everything that as well, so. But like I said, what the most ironic shout of the night.
This was a belter.
He was pissing himself laughing. Was this United supporter where it must be 8 or 9 year old Bairn shouting, you dirty Fenian bees are as bad as the orange bees. That was a shout that came to the end. I couldn't actually believe what I was saying. And then when there was a scuffle of Celtic supporters over in the home end in the main stand, there was literally shouts from the guys saying that they wanted us Celtic supporters hung that were sitting in the home end.
Unbelievable.
That's what I was dealing with for 45 minutes there.
Do you mean like
Now you can see why I'm glad you didn't got Welshie.
I could have enjoyed that. But no, listen, I don't know.
Do you mean like if
Scotland at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, but if there's young kids that age,
but you just don't. But see, even
there's no hope for this to ever change. To get me.
But the thing about it is, Paul, what it is Mikey saying, he's been to Dundee United games before and never heard anything like that before. I was totally surprised because I've never had an argument with a Dundee United supporter. Do you know what I mean?
Great, we great respect for Jonas coming on the podcast with and what he does for the podcast going forward. But like, if parents are letting their young kids say this, but like by you young kids there as well, like if they're starting off this young age, it's never going to change in Scotland if the parents are letting them say this kind of stuff.
I'm really surprised to hear it, but you know, I don't have any affection for any other team. Certainly, I'm no interested in anything happening south of that border, and I don't have any affection other than I've always had a wee soft spot for who was Dundee Hibernian, Dundee United. I think possibly back to joining together to show Maggie a red card at the cup final. I used to enjoy watching I used to watch, Stirrup, Heger, Aineri, Malpass. It was one team I used to enjoy coming to Celtic Park, and I certainly it's the last team in Scotland, and I'm including Hibs on this. It's the last team in Scotland that I would have expected Mikey to say that about or to hear that about. But I'm going to qualify it with Dundee United. It's no Dundee United's problem. It's one. You need another podcast. You need to dedicate 2 hours to this. This is Scotland's problem.
Aye.
This is no Dundee United's problem. That's what
I'm saying, Jeff. Like if it's happening at such a young age, it's never going to change in Scotland. Do you know what I mean? It's never going to change if parents are letting their young kids say this type of stuff. Because you said Mikey was about 8 or 9 years of age. Like if a child is saying that type of,
wasn't it kid that was saying it, Paul?
No,
just he had that kid with him, the guy who was shouting at aye.
Yeah, so
but you're still the kid's still hearing his dad shouting at aye.
He's hearing his dad, like, so it's never going to change, Barry, is it?
No, I don't think it will change. I think forever and a day, and no matter what club you go around, you're going to get it. It's just supporters, whoever they're playing. It'll be Fenian this, it'll be Orange that, it'll be Sheep Shagging, excuse my language, the Aberdeen version as well. That's just, it's what their parents are getting them, it's what they're hearing from their pals. It's just one of these things, we can go over it and over it, but I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, I'll reiterate as well, that also happened, I never heard any Bairns or that say it was all like grown adults, and that makes it any better. But I think what sealed it for me was there was a young lassie in her mid-20s draped in United stuff where a young Bairn were, and she got up after about 25 minutes and just left because of the disgusting abuse being hurled there.
Yeah, but you think now with this girl, what was her name, Mark? The Sky broadcaster that walked out of the Weissers award.
Ailey Barber.
Do you think now she herself might bring this further, or?
Well, that was more like misogyny stuff, wasn't it? It was like, I think a guy thought, looking at it, it was as if they'd hired that Bernard Manning or something to do the speech when you look at some of the stuff that was said. But just as everybody's saying, Paul, it's a bit of a different world out here, and it's not really going to change. But as IFP says, and as I said, I've said it, we spoke in length with Mikey, I can't believe that it happened. And look at Dundee United. It just really, really shocked me when Mikey told me.
Like I say, everybody's quick to jump on the bandwagon regarding Celtic and them, regarding sectarian chants this and this, that and next thing. Like Welsh and that's how I said. People need to realise it's no Celtic, just Celtic and Rangers. And it's a Scottish thing, Hearts. Aberdeen and quite clearly Dundee United.
But do you not think there's always a bit of every club in Scotland when you look at it, really? Every club.
Listen, Mark, when we played,
I mean, it's
when
we're sitting here and we're saying we don't expect it for Dundee United, we don't expect it for Hibs.
Yeah, but Mark, you go
We
down the
expect it for
road,
Aberdeen because you think that's maybe a bit just maybe banterish. Do you get what I mean with Aberdeen?
Yeah.
But
when
then
we played Alloa, Mark, it was the exact same. When we had Barry Fogson in the stands, there was Secretarian chants there from, and this is going down the lower leagues, like, do you know what I mean?
Aye.
Mark, let's tell you something, right? Okay, this is going back a few years, right? But I played in a game for Hamilton Accies. Played a game against Forfar. I'll not mention the players in question. One of them got sent off for calling the referee a Fenian bastard, and one of them got sent off for calling the referee an orange bastard. That was two teammates in the same game. Both got sent off for calling. One called them a Fenian, other one called them an orange one. So it's every club, you know. Divisions, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what division they're in.
There's always that undercurrent in Scottish football.
Did the referee have a different accent when he was talking to the two different players, Barry? That they called them two different names.
Well, you know something? It's just a bit of emotion, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're not happy with something, your automatic reaction is to go one way, and the other guy went the other way, and that was it. And they both got red cards for it.
Jeez, unbelievable! Like it is like.
And that's no a wind up. That's deadly serious. What I'm telling you.
One of the things the guy, I sat next to a guy, he's given these up his season ticket now, but I sat beside the same guy for I don't know how many years, 15 years, whatever, guy for Montrose, not a Roman Catholic. And I could say to you, and I could sit here and proud to say it, I've never once, all the time that I sat beside him, never once did I hear a sectarian comment against his religion that made me cringe. I've heard a lot of songs sung about a country's fight for freedom against British rule that you might disagree with or not disagree with, but I never heard anything sectarian. And I'll say to a few people, the song, "Oh, no Pope of Rome, no chapels to sun, my eyes, no nuns and no priests, no rosary beads every day is the 12th of July." That doesn't have an equivalent in the Celtic repertoire. That's a thing I've always been extremely proud of, that I could say that I sat next to that man, and never once in maybe 15 years, maybe more than that, have I ever heard or did I ever hear a comment that would have made me cringe, because it would have made me cringe.
Definitely.
There's plenty that goes on. Let's not be naive here.
I'm just relating a story. That's just a fact that I always feel Welsh. It makes me feel quite proud to be able to say that.
Well, she was telling me that this kind of split, but it was, what is it, Welsh, the Green Brigade, and is it just the boys they're called?
They're always argued.
They're always.
There's a bit of ding dong yesterday as well.
The boys want to be a wee bit more old school. You get what I mean with their singing and stuff like that. Whereas the Green Brigade don't. They're kind of want to kind of keep it modern, ultra kind of thing. And that's where this kind of split was coming from, wasn't it, Welshie?
Well, there's definitely a split there, especially with things like Roman and the Gloman and what have you.
Back to the football.
Aye, just that Mikey, you know what I mean? He was upset about it.
Just to take it back to football, just to qualify what I said there, Paul, was for me, I don't think Angie will play the two of them together, but you would think there was plenty of people of the same opinion. As you think, man, he needs to find a way to try and get Kyogo and Giakoumakis in the same team here. And what's it? Some tribute. I think Kyogo is the best we've had since Henrik. And what a tribute is to Giakoumakis to say, as Kyogo's been coming back to full fitness there, where he just wasn't as sharp as he was. He's starting to look as if he's getting there now. But there's times there where there is games, and there was times there over the last few weeks where you would have played Giakoumakis in front of him. For his physicality. Say again, Welshie.
Kyogo comes on, scores 2 goals yesterday.
Yep.
And he swapped there for Giakoumakis, and he's the same, bang in 2 goals.
Yep.
You know, to me, that competition is as good as anything.
This is what we want, like, you know what I mean? Like, you want...
You get that same sort of, you know...
exactly.
You want a competition between the two of them.
Yeah.
Chatting a bit to get on.
Two totally different players, but, you know, it must be two of the best strikers that we've had for a long, long time.
They're Mikey getting away, right? Thanks for coming on, Mikey, bud.
Mikey.
Right, I'll speak to you later on, right?
Cheers, Mikey.
Lads, we decided to pick Mikey on because, in fairness to him, he was very upset.
He was meant to come on the other night and didn't make it on, you know what I mean? But I think he was beeling for days about it, really was. It's just anybody would if you were sitting listening to that, Paul, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I still think Kyogo should be played as a number 10. I don't care what anybody says.
Away you go, Mark. You're not going to convince me of that.
I'm not sure. Look, Paul, I think Paul thought the other night I was kind of having a bit of a dig at Kyogo when I was saying that I want Giacomakis to be a main striker. I just think he's just got a lot more
presence.
I have something more about him, John.
Yeah, but then, Mark, if you look how fast,
it's been like a Scottish game.
But Barry, like, I just come to Barry. But if you look how fast Ange wants to play, and like we saw the goals there from Kyogo when he's running off the shoulder, like that's what he brings. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's what I kind of touched on earlier, Paul. You know, they're both phenomenal.
Different,
strikers,
like, yeah.
They're both very, very different. For me, like, listen, I understand people wanting to get them both into the team. I get it, but for me, it's one or the other, because you know what Kyogo brings. I don't want that diluted or taken away by playing him in a deeper position or playing him out wide. He's a guy that plays on the shoulder, sort of a la George Cadet back in his day. He'd always make these wonderful runs in behind the defence and, you know, score these fantastic goals. And on, you know, the opposite side of the coin, you've got Giacomakis. He's big, he's physical, he roughs up defenders, he hoods the ball up. But the bottom line is, the both of them score a hell of a lot of goals. Yeah, listen, I understand.
He certainly wasted out wide. You can't play him out wide.
No,
he's wasted out wide.
Yeah, he's no prepared. And listen, Mark, I understand what you're saying as well. You know, he's got the ability to play the number 10, but I just think if you play him as a number 10, you're taking away a massive part of his game, which is looking to go in behind. And that's, listen, it's all about opinions. That's mine. For me, as it stands, it's one or the other. But like Welshie said there, look at the impact they both had in yesterday's game. You know, an hour out of Kyogo, he scores 2 incredible goals, and Giacomakis comes on with 30 to go, and he gets 2 goals as well. Probably could have had a third.
The overhead kick was a cracker too, wasn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. He's got that in his locker. So, yeah, long may it continue having these headaches to have for Ange.
I was laughing away at myself yesterday when Kyogo scored after spending the all night there saying I'd play Giacomakis first. I just thought it was great.
I know. And I was going to text you up, but that's what it was. I said, who'd you pick now, Brian?
I think Welsh. I'll stand by what I said, though. I don't think I could have put any better than Barry just said there. For me, that's exactly how it should be. One or the other. Have the competition between the two.
Do you know what, though, Terence, that if we're playing Giacomakis, for me, if Giacomakis in the team, I'm fairly sure we have to play Radisson when Giacomakis is in the team, is because out of how many 15 goals, I think, is it 15 goals he got in the league? Giacomakis is 15 goals. Out of his 15 goals,
13 is it no, Paul?
Is it, no, it's 13 in the league, is it? So
13 league goals, 17 in total.
17 total, 13 in the league. So out of his 13 goals in the league, just in the league, Ralston has set up 7 of them, Terence.
Yeah, his crossing has been phenomenal, to be fair, Paul. So, and he's the main supply for Giacomakis. But to go back to the point that the lads were talking about, if you were going to play Giacomakis and Kyogo, for me, there's only one way you could play it, and you need a genuine holding midfielder. Like I've said here loads of times, when I know JFPs, they had the same person as me. You need like a Lewis Ferguson sitting in front of the centre backs, and for me, then you could play the two boys up front, because I think he'd be rock solid there. But as Ralston has been brilliant, Paul, and I understand your point. His crosses have been fantastic, especially for Giacomakis, and he's banged in a bucket load because of him. So, but as the lads were saying there, Juranovic is always going to be ahead of him if he's fit.
Definitely.
I think it's going to be the same in the left. I think there's going to be a new left back brought in. And Taylor's going to be like the left back version of Ralston really into it. I think that's what's going to happen over the summer.
No, I just think, Mark, it's.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Mark. I think for me, the priority still is definitely to replace Scott Brown. Whether that's Neil Lennon's the best ever I've seen in that role. Paul Lambert.
I think
my laddie was talking about. You even forget about some of these players now. But you remember even Barry Robson in that position. Something Paul Hartley. Yeah,
here's an opinion, right? Yeah, what's that? Here's an opinion, and that's all right. What's that noise? You hear that?
It's just interfering, Sophie, somebody.
So here's an opinion, right? So with Rogic leaving, right? Okay, and they're obviously kind of posting to come in there as O'Reilly. But could you not think so, Mark, that he could push McGregor so more forward, maybe to slot into that role? And as I said, there's only one reason, Mark, we signed GOTY, and that position is the holding midfielder where Callum McGregor was playing.
Oh, I would prefer seeing McGregor moved up, like up a slot kind of thing, Paul, 100%. Yep. I just don't think he's got the part. See, but it's weird. See, he can't tackle, Paul. That's my main problem with him.
Yeah,
he can't tackle. And if you need, I mean, apart from that, playing like that kind of deep line playmaker, fair dues, but you still need to be able to time a tackle. And for me, just that's the part of his game that he's never got. And I just think he is more effective as
playing
season, like a slot up kind of idea.
Next season, I think in pre-season, I think he's been very, very unlucky this season. Is GOTY. William was saying I started again in GOTY.
And you missed him coming on yesterday,
But to me, Mac, I talk about him because I know what the lad can do. Do you know what I mean? I saw.
But he did get into that role yesterday when he came on.
No, he didn't. He slotted up more forward.
So he didn't sit in the middle of the park and play
because he's not a runner. Do you get me? He's not. That's not his main thing. His main thing, JFP, is tackling. Do you know what I mean?
See if you think. Even if you look at they bullied us. They bullied us in the semi-final. Ran over the top of you in the middle of the park.
Mm-hmm. Again, John, into it. I mean, you were on the podcast about 8-9 months ago. We spoke about getting bullied in the midfield.
Saying the same thing. Saying the same thing. And actually, even if you take the games against them, if you get back, let's. You go back and look at the games again. Then we lost the first one at the Bronx, right? When we beat them 3-0, when we beat them at 3-0 in February, the game was done at half time, but they had the best of the second half, right? We win at Ibrox 2-1 when CCV scores, and it's backs to the wall after that. In the semi, 2-1, bullied us. Thuggish referee, they were allowed to bully us as well, which is I don't really have a problem with being thugs. My problem with that game is that the referee allowed them to be thuggish.
Exactly.
And in the last game, 1 each. We could have won it. We could have won it. We could have lost it.
It's
the big difference between the two teams for me. I would go as far as to say that I don't think. I would have serious question marks about having watched our performance against them. I would have serious concerns about winning the league again next season unless we can put that dig in. I don't know if Lewis Ferguson's good enough. I've not seen enough of Lewis Ferguson to know if he's good enough.
I
know he scored 11 goals, and I know he's reputed to be a bit of a dig.
In a pre-season together, it's the first season together. I think you look at the amount of midfielders we've got there. Different people that rotate to different positions in midfield. You say they bullied us, but a lot of that could be due to confidence and getting stuck in noise. But Ibrox won it 2-1. That's what we were brilliant that day. Backs against the wall, we're winning 2-1. But that sort of becomes natural at times. But look at the semi-final. They kicked us off the park a wee bit. CCV doesn't miss that sitter. Going through. There's fine margins there.
That's a totally different game if that goes in. And somebody as well, we spoke about it a bit on the live chat yesterday. We were just talking about the amount of actual sitters that we miss
We just don't. We don't have a player. Who's the big boy they've got up front? The big thing. He's a big care horse as well. We just don't have somebody that can go and when he's dishing it out like that can go and stick 2 fingers up his nostrils and drag him a bit.
Well, we just have a player who could do that, but for some reasons it just didn't click. The only player we have in the team that can take that bit of tuggery is James McCarthy, John. But for reasons unknown, it just didn't work out for him.
Do you ever think
Boss and Lowell?
toe-to-toe, though?
Bosman Law, Mark, definitely.
What'd you say there, Brian?
Do you ever think we'll set up to go toe-to-toe, though? We won't. We'll stick to our game plan no matter who's playing.
You know,
I don't.
The whole point.
I'm all for somebody that can tackle and put it a bit in the midfield and what have you.
But that's not the way Aaron's plays.
But we need them. They need to be able. We're not looking for a hatchet man. We're looking for somebody who can play a bit as well.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Ideally, a Paul McStay.
That's what I said that on the forum. The
big problem is right that with Ange's system, right, with the inverted full backs, right, they're coming in to provide this cover. Right, and the problem is,
here we go. These full backs again.
This is the way it works. Like the problem is there.
It's like Paul Bingo into Gucci inverted fullbacks.
No, but we don't have we don't have the proper player in the middle of the park, and Cal McGregor isn't that player. Now, if we're going to sign someone, we see in the pre-seasons, Mark, or through the transfer window, who's actually going to play, and if it's Cal McGregor in that position for the pre-season, it's going to be Cal McGregor for the season.
It's going to be
we Gucci looks a wee hard bastard.
He is well, and I've watched clips of him. The man's a tackler. He tackles.
We've not really seen enough of Gucci. He get cropped.
Just been unlucky. He's been unlucky.
We've seen enough of him.
We've really
seen enough to know.
Paul has, John, believe me, Paul's seen plenty of him. Dreams of him and everything, I think.
Is that right?
That's his wee crush. He's not shut up about him all year and he's hardly kicked a ball.
I think, Barry, with him coming in and getting injured, pre-season is going to be big for these players. Like, so if James McCarthy's going to be at the club, James McCarthy, Gucci, they're all going to be big players, aren't they? If pre-season will be a benefit to them.
See, before you answer that, Barry, I think it was Mikey I was talking about to me last night. See, now that we're not playing in like the pre-season Champions League qualifiers, but the players no need to be back as soon. Did they get an extended break, do you think? I reckon?
Oh no, they'll get an extended. They'll have the longest break they've had in a long time. Certain players will. Unfortunately, we've got the Scotland games coming up next month. So your likes of McGregor, Taylor, potentially Ralston, they'll get next week off, and then they'll be back at it because, like I say, there's international games. But no, they'll get a well-deserved rest, especially the Japanese boys. They've played 18 months of solid football, but
instead of being back the 1st of July now, we're maybe no back to the 15th or something like that.
Yeah, they'll get an extra couple of weeks. And the good, like you say, Matt, the good thing is we know that there's no qualifiers where they kick off the first week in July, so you're back in, sort of first, second week in June, and you're back in the pre-season, and you've got a couple of friendlies before you've got your first Champions League qualifier. So it's a massive benefit this season, as well as other things for qualifying. But see, just going back to saying that, I don't want to be the disagreeing guy tonight, but I would have McGregor as my holding midfielder. I really would. And I get what you're saying in terms of the physicality is not there, but see, for me, you'll not get a better player than Callum McGregor on the ball starting off the attacks. We spoke about it before in terms, they used Scott Brown there last year and things just slowed down. See, for me, Callum McGregor on the ball, there's not a better player in the country. So it's one of these situations where, I know you guys say play it further forward, but see, when you're playing further forward in Ange's system, McGregor would be tied to the left-hand side. See, in Ange's system, they don't really roam from a left or a right. Rogic and Turnbull yesterday, they tended to just stay left and right-hand side. See, if that's McGregor, he's wasted out there, in my opinion. I don't think he impacts the game nearly enough. See, under sort of Brendan Rodgers and Lennon's, they had played the 4-2-3-1, whereby your number 10 or the guy, he had license to roam, and that's where McGregor, and back in the day, you had Rogic, Armstrong, they were all massively beneficial in that position. But I don't know. See, McGregor further forward in Ange's system, I'm not convinced.
But so, it's what you're saying. I totally agree with you, Barry. Right? When he's on the ball, blah blah. Do you know what I mean? But it's when we've no get the ball. You know, but just and then it's when we come up against what me and John are saying there about like when we come up against like the Ibrox midfield, they're all kind of tough guys, hammer throws. We just seem to get out muscled with them, I think.
Oh, listen, I definitely agree, and that's where I think.
And I'm not putting that on. I'm not just
Scott
putting that on
Brown.
Callum McGregor's shoulders.
No.
I'm putting that on
And
the full. I'm putting that on the full team, basically.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree probably with every single point John made about the Glasgow Derby matches. It was lost in the midfield. You know, the ones where we struggled a bit, it's because we lost the midfield, which then didn't give us a platform to build our attacks. And because I mean, Jota and you know the other guys, Maeda, they kind of came in for a bit of criticism, saying they weren't in the game, but that's because we lost the midfield. They didn't get a chance to sort of build a foundation and let them go and do their thing. They were kind of back to park a lot, and that nullifies these guys. But
oh, sorry, Barry.
No, just carry on, mate.
I was just going to say, it seems that see if we're allowed to control the midfield, we look beautiful playing. It's great to watch. But see when we're getting nipped at all the time and a bit of physicality, we kind of obviously I know the stop starts with the referees with stupid fouls doesn't help Celtic's rhythm, but it's just when we come up against these teams that kind of outmuscle us, we never seem to be able to find the rhythm because of that.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. I mean, you've spoke sort of offline, Matt, about needing that sort of bit of steel in the midfield, and I do agree with that. It's just how do we go about it in terms of getting the best out of the players that we've already got. Like I said, for me, I like Callum McGregor and just him constantly getting on the ball and controlling the game from there. But I do take on board what you're saying in terms of we do miss a bit of steel in there.
What's your thoughts, Terence?
It's just on that one. I can understand where the lads are coming from, but I'd be just interested, especially Barry, obviously being the next player. The one worry I have about McGregor in that role is that when he drives forward, and he has to drive forward on a lot of occasions because the lads in front of him just aren't sometimes doing it, especially when he done it in Ibrox. My fear is when we lose the ball, if you want to call it, your sitting midfielder is now past the ball. So, and the other midfielders, Jota doesn't track back. Rogic at the time wouldn't really track back much. So my worry was all of a sudden there's a gap in the midfield. And we, especially against Rangers, they seem to exploit that on numerous occasions. And that's my only fear of not having your sitting midfielder. I can understand what you're saying about McGregor and the way he dictates it, and he's brilliant at it. But my worry is when he drives forward and the ball is lost, there's so much space between the midfield and the defence, and I just feel we get exploited, and that's why I would always like to see McGregor a little bit further forward and someone who would be more sitting there than committing themselves as much forward as that. That's my only worry about the McGregor situation for me. Like,
just to me, I think he needs a bit of protection, and I think I agree with just what Mark said as well. I think too many teams. I think he's sitting too deep, and played McGregor's absolutely what a season he said. He said a fantastic season he's a fantastic football player, Callum McGregor. I think he's almost has to do too much in there. I would like to see him get a bit of protection, and to see sometimes I feel he's doing a lot of good work and he's doing it but he's doing it too deep.
Where does he play for Scotland?
I never see him really playing for.
No.
Can I comment?
It's a two-man midfield in Scotland, Mark. He's in the centre midfield, I think, with Ryan Jack. So, kind of Ryan Jack, does he give him that kind of...
with Scotland, he's kind of... The two of them sit, don't they? So
yeah.
Like a Dragon McGregor or a Gilmore, and John McGinn plays further forward. So, kind of like the way Rodgers used to play, with the two Browning and Charles. Right. So he's got... See, this is the thing, Mark, is we all go around thinking, what's the best... What we need to accept is, Ange's system of the 4-3-3, and like sort of Welsh touched on, he's not going to deviate away from it. He firmly believes in this 4-3-3. So it's how do in terms of our own opinions and mindsets, how do we then fit the best players into the system? Because, like I say, I don't think Ange is going to go away from this. He's not going to think, well, know what, let's play with two sitters and play one further forward. He firmly believes in the system, and why not? Look what it's done. It's got him the league. It's got him the cup. It's been very successful this season. So, we'll probably go around all summer thinking, what's the best way to utilise McGregor and add a bit of steel or what have you. But let's see what happens.
So Celtic finished the season, 39 games played, wins 29, drew 6, lost 3, points were 93, goals for was 92, goals against was 22, points 93. What myself and Mark are planning for the course of the season is we're going to compare this to, because there's a lot of people saying like this has been the worst Celtic team I can show, or if we lose the league, this is the worst Celtic team we ever lost league to. So we're going to compare this league title with the previous league titles in the next few podcasts. And I think we've more points tally in 3 of the 9 in a row titles, Mark. So we look at that, but like this season as a whole. It's just been phenomenal compared to where we started and how we finished it. And
It's been exciting to watch again. It's for me, it's one of the most enjoyable seasons I've been to.
I'd agree with that.
I actually look forward to not just going to the games and having the drink and having a laugh and everything else, but she got to watch his play just now. It's exciting. It's really good. You never, let's say yesterday, could have been just a knockabout and see what happened, but destroyed Motherwell. And that the tone set from the beginning that kicks off, and the players are up for it. And there's a feel-good factor in the stadium as well. Everybody's enjoying it.
See, when you look, I don't think anybody other than Angie. Honestly, I really believe that. I don't think any other than Angie could have done it. That's concerning that you've got, with so many eggs in the one basket. In terms of, we've got 4 Japanese players there. That presumably he's had a massive part in bringing there. Has he influenced the Greek laddie as well? I think what he's done in even terms of if anybody's got a chance to see the celebrations in the dressing room and after the game at the weekend, but I don't remember seeing a team that looked as tight as that for a long time. You could just. It just looks as if they just want to play for Angie, and I think what he did recruitment wise, he took. If you get a chance to see that video of Angie flying in, and you see the dejection in McGregor facing the team when they leave that part in an empty stadium last year, for to get from there last season to yesterday, is nothing short of remarkable.
So you look at the celebrations yesterday
League Cup already in the bag as well, John.
League Cup already in the bag, playing as well. She said they're playing fantastic football, joy to watch. The nonsense you hear now. We scored 12 goals more. We lost 9 goals left, less. You've got more points. The best team wins the league. That's the bottom line. The best football I think I ever seen played was under Tommy Burns with Decanio, Cadete, Andreas Tom, George Cadet, Decanio, Van Hooydonk. But you know what we won? Nothing. The best team won the league, and that was them. Best team always wins the league.
See how humbling that Ange was even after the game and that, the way he was talking and that. I can see Ange becoming one of my favourite Celtic managers ever already, just because of what he's done. And
do you know what would have made?
No, but can you imagine if that was Brendan Rodgers or that? I mean, we all know Brendan, I'm not going to bad mouth him. He done good for us when he was here, but it was all about him. Neil Lennon, it was all about him. Ange doesn't want it to be all about him.
No,
he was talking yesterday and he was doing that.
The coaches, Mark, being the coaches in for the picture when he was standing with the picture, like, you know what I mean?
But he was stunning yesterday, and what was it he said? Tried to get people out in Australia to buy into it. They've got sports that they're more interested in, but I've come out here and this has always been the dream, trying to get into Europe, trying to make a mark and check. And it's just a really humble guy. It's never going to be like the Ange show. Do you know what I mean? It's never going to be like that with him.
Do you know what would have made his speech though yesterday? If he would have dropped the mic. It would just made the speech yesterday. I mean, the passion. I spoke to you last night in Discord about it. Like the passion his speech alone gave us for next season. It goes, we're going to walk during the summer. We're going to bring in players during the summer. We never stop.
See, we look at the first few games of the season. He set his stall out for the start and he stuck by it. How easy could it be for him to change his views and everything else just because you know, the size
Pressure
of
he
the
was,
club, the
pressure he
expectation,
was
the
under.
stress.
Exactly.
But
So
he
I'm saying
never, that was it. He stuck by it. He was going to live by it. And if we hadn't won the league this year, if it had fell flat in his face, he'd have put his horns up and said, I had to go.
You heard what they said when they come on the park yesterday. They come over the tunnel. It said, "Here's what we'll now welcome the man that was meant to be getting an early plane back to Australia before Christmas time."
Yeah.
According to the Scottish press, you know, and he can stand there in front of 60,000 and say, "You've embraced me, you've embraced my family, you've even embraced my jumper."
Mhm.
Aye, absolutely.
You know, we go away, we enjoy it, we come back bigger, and we come back better. I mean, to me, he just gets. I mean,
Exactly.
The
Jay,
camera panned in on him and his wife and their 2 kids. And,
unbelievable, Mark. You
oh,
could see
see,
that
you
he's
could, you could see the actual.
Mark,
you,
yeah.
you could.
Mark, see at the corner flag at the green big right where I'm sitting there. He comes up. You can't fake what's in the players' faces. I've watched them closely, particularly Joe Hart. Man's nuts.
Yeah.
And Angie is as well. His wife, when they were clapping singing Ange Postecoglou, his wife was clapping and singing along. He just
The camera
for
panned.
whatever reason, he just gets it.
The camera panned in on him and his wife and their 2 wee boys starting, and
Yep.
then the 2 kind of grabbed their head and his wife. You could just tell it was like as if we've done it. Like we've done it, hen. Do you know what I mean? That kind of
Yep.
thing. Look, we've made it now after all these years. Kind of idea. Look at what we're party now.
Because Barry, just yourself. I remember it was on a Tuesday. We texted you the day Eddie Howe's deal broke down, and we questioned Ange. 3 of us, me, you, Mark. Who is this guy? You know, but by God, Barry, were we wrong?
Yeah, well, I mean, John made it clear, right? He wanted Eddie Howe all along. JFP, he was devastated when
Eddie Howe CSC.
You know,
tattoo and everything.
we could have had a treble this year if maybe Eddie had been appointed. But I'll take what I got. But on a serious note, I mean, I never expected him to deliver what he's delivered. And like I think with John or sorry, Mark, it was yourself. This guy, I mean, he's going to go down as one of the outstanding managers we've had. I mean, right away, Brendan, yeah, people have got his critics, but he delivered for the club. See, for me, this is bigger than what Rodgers. This title this year, I mean, and speaking about titles, and people have been on the forum, and I'm sure we've all had discussions with pals and fellow supporters. I'm struggling to find a title that I've enjoyed as much as I've enjoyed this one. And I'm talking about stopping 10 in a row in '98. I'm talking about Martin O'Neill's first title, you know, in 2001, and even the one in '98, the Tommy Burns title, you know, just after he passed. These were all fantastic moments for supporters, fantastic moments in the history of the club. But see, this one, it's just a special title from where we were. If you turn the clock back 12 months, from where we were as a football club, never mind on the pitch, you're talking with no chief executive, no head of recruitment, no manager. You know, the playing staff, the turnover, the players that we lost were captain. We lost millions of pounds worth of talent. From what he's done, it's remarkable. It's miraculous. I'll go as far as that. And I'm sure everybody has enjoyed this title. And for me, it's all down to Ange and what he's done and how he's turned it around. And absolutely over him, and so I am.
Barry, I think that's what I said again. I genuinely, I don't think I'm giving him too much praise at this when I say that when you see that video I'm flying in, he's come in there with nothing but what's in his head. No background stuff, nothing. First thing he says, we'll sort out the system, get that take people, get the players playing it as best as we can. Then we'll sort out. We need to bring players in. Needs to happen quick. Then we'll sort out nutrition. He wouldn't even talk about his background stuff. He's obviously gave John Kennedy and Laptop Boy. He's given them their place and seems to be quite happy with them, and couldn't be give them any more credit when he speaks about them. But when you look at it, see, you've got 4 Japanese players in the park yesterday. I'm guessing just wouldn't have been here if it hadn't been for Angie. The team, the dressing room was a burst ball, and you've got a team. The unity in that team is like something I've not seen for a long time. I think yesterday this season's title goes a way back up. For me, I was thinking about it yesterday. You're a wee back to us stopping them winning 10 in a row. That's how good yesterday was for me.
That's what we were saying, Mark.
That for me, that was one of the best days of my life. That John when we stopped them doing 10 in a row. And
Yep.
although I'm not at the games and that, they knew yesterday the way that's up there for me as well, even though I wasn't actually there.
Yep. I think it was actually, even last week against Hearts was really, really, really emotional. Yesterday was just an absolute joy, and the icing in the cake was, I think, it's just the way we performed. The fact that, like it was done, but he's putting on a show. He's not going to. I think Barry's right. He's not going to surrender. He's got his way. He's going to play, and he's just not going to surrender that. That's the way. And there's loads of pluses comes with Angie. There might be some negatives. That's the way he's going to play. Concerns me a wee bit. How does as I say, when you see how we've fared against them, and we've had the discussion about being weak in the midfield relative to them being steamrollered, it concerns me a wee bit getting into the Champions League as well. With it, that wee bit of, as I said, whether Lewis, I've not seen enough of Lewis Ferguson to know if he's the man, but that, you know what I mean when I'm saying that type of player, something that would give us. Interesting to hear Barry speaking about
I said the same thing as well, didn't he, when we played Leverkusen away. With a brilliant performance out there. But he said after the game, he says he wasn't going to change. That was the way we're going to play.
Yep.
That was, there was no changing for Europe, the league, or anything else. That's the way we're going to play.
And to be fair, like in York, though, Brian, like we did exceptionally well. Do you know what I mean? Just in the group alone that we were in, we were just unlucky. We were in a tough group. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. A pre-season together, just won the league, confidence is brimming, a couple of new players in, and what the Champions League will bring. Don't care, if I'm being honest with you, because I take that as a bonus for a wee trip away and stuff like that. But for me, it's win the league.
I think if you stand back for this you could talk about this season forever and a day. If you look at the recruitment, I don't know how many players were brought in, 11, 12 players or whatever. You look at the recruitment to an absolute man. You know, Juranovic. I think Hatate looks tired. I'm expecting to see better of him next year. A steal for O'Reilly. Abada has been absolutely sensational. CCV, Starfelt's come on to a game as well. Gucci probably see the best day. Kyogo, Giacomakis, Mida, one man shutting down machine.
We always spoke about JFP, like about Celtic signing players that never make an impact or were waiting. Like,
Paul, there's not been a failure. You look right across the board. There has not been a
every player that came in.
But you look at Joe Hart being the only one with any experience as well.
Exactly, and I think for me, like I know we're going to talk about player of the years in a moment, but Terence, I come to you, like we spoke about Joe Hart numerous of times, like but what he's done alone for this Celtic team is unbelievable. Like for what we paid for him, 1 million.
Yeah, it's a sensational boy, and like you said, Paul. I mean, if you're that defence and you've got a guy as good as Joe Hart behind you, it has to instill confidence in you. When you consider what was there 12 months beforehand, do you know what I mean? It was basically a mannequin in goals that didn't open its mouth. You know, so you and search for Ralston, Taylor, Juranovic, Vickers, Starfelt. I mean, Joe Hart never shut up. 75 caps, won the Premier League, you know, top class English goalkeeper, and he's loving it. He's loving it, and he's been an unbelievable signing for Celtic, and it's one of the main reasons that Celtic are where they are as well, because it was a serious problem issue for them last year. They had no one in goals. It was literally like 3 keepers. Right, I'll close my eyes and I'll pull out a name, see who's in goals this week. That's basically what it was last year. So. I mean, he's been phenomenal this year.
Phenomenal.
Terence, I think I'd posted on the banter page the other day there. I think Callum McGregor's the player of the year for me. But for me, no Joe Hart, there's no title in League Cup because any other player in that team you could take. We survived half a season without Kyogo and played Giacomakis. We survived half a season without Giacomakis and played Kyogo. Anybody else you could take out, Joe, he's sensational talent. But you could take anybody out. You take Joe Hart out and you put Bain or worse, Barkas in. You've won nothing.
That was the biggest thing, JFP, that if he got injured, that was the real shit your pants moment for the year. Please God, don't get injured. Please God, do not get injured, because you looked who was there and you were like, Christ almighty. I have to put in one of them.
Barkis is the worst ever. I mean, I stood behind Barkis at the West Ham game, the friendly, where he gets beat at near post, doesn't even dive. He's, I mean, I don't know what that was all about with Barkis, but Barkis or Baines in the goal, you're not winning the league.
I mean, JP,
because he would, I think what Hearts, you can just see he's a winner. You can just see what he's put right through the back four.
I see, JP, like over the years, we've saw on the opposite side of the city make big saves for Celtic, but for me, I would agree with yourself. I would agree with Terence that if we didn't have Joe Hart, one, I don't think our defence would be so organised without him, because his organisation off the ball as well, shouting at players, telling players where to go, even when we're still winning. How fast Joe Hart wants the ball to keep going. Do you get me? He's just been unbelievable. Like,
I saw a thing at Parkhead yesterday I thought I'd never see. Was a St George's cross at the Celtic end. That's the biggest tribute you can pay to Joe Hart. Don't get me wrong, there was only one and it didn't last long. I think it disappeared, but it was there.
I mean, see, the only criticism of Hart is like this passing it about for the back.
Yep.
Hey, but that's Ange that's telling him to do that.
That's Ange, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the whole back four couldn't cope with that. See, against them as well. The whole back four couldn't cope with that high press against them. You know, it wasn't just.
And he had a cracky, a long one yesterday, and out to the left wing. I don't know who it was at GOTY. I thought it was going to be a goal. See if it would have ended up goal of the season. So I mean, it's what we criticise him for. It's not really his fault, because he's obviously doing his best. It's not as if he's like deliberately trying to make an arse of these wee passes about the back. Well, it's just what Ange wants him to do. But when it comes to his actual job, he's stopping the ball getting into the net. I mean, who else better could Celtic honestly have than
no one at the moment.
And at the kind of price range of Joe, I mean, did you say, Paul, £1 million?
And like
the experience he's got. John said, I think it was his Champions League, won the English League and things like that. But for me, I know we're going to get into it, but I'm going to have Joe Hart for my Player of the Year because of that, Paul.
Barry, thing about Joe Hart is, and he said it himself when he met Ange, Joe Hart wanted to be loved, and he wanted the assurance that he was given a chance at Celtic. He was not a player who was thrown into the deep. He was not a player, Mark, who was thrown into the deep end in Midtjylland. You know what I mean? He was actually signed and put on a plane off to Denmark, and he was starting the game.
Did he not fly himself there, Paul?
He did, yeah. Private jet. Aye. Private jet to meet the team, Mark, and play the game. Do you know what I mean? Like what a signing! Like, I mean, I'm big into goalkeepers. I always watch goalkeepers, but. Like,
I think he's for me. I think my Player of the Year goes to McGregor, but I certainly think, and for all the recruitment has been the best I've seen for a long time. As I say, there's no failures, but for me, Joe Hart is the signing of the season.
Like Barry, like for you being a defender, knowing that you have a pair of safe hands behind you, that's an extra benefit to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive confidence thing. I think we've spoken about it before, isn't it? To know you've got a safe pair of hands, a solid foundation in those goals, it breeds confidence right throughout the team, and not just your defenders. You know, to know that, you know, even as strikers, to know that back there you've got a safe pair of hands. But it's everything he brings to the role. It's not just, you know, his shot stopping. It's his leadership. It's how quick he starts his attacks. We've all seen it. As soon as that ball goes out for a by kick, he's got it back within seconds, and bang, we're away again. And like the guys have said, that's an Ange thing. He wants these attacks to be, you know, we never stop. That's his telling, we never stop. And that's what he does. He buys into it. But like I say, his leadership, his experience, everything he brings to the role, yeah, you know what, phenomenal. He's not my Player of the Year. My Player of the Year is Carter Vickers. I think he's been...
No.
Spoiler alert.
You know, Mark and JFP have just gave you their Player of the Year. How can I give mine? But no, I mean, Joe Hart, you know, going back there, you know, what a sign he's been. But like the guys who said, Welsh and JFP and that, who has been a failure this season in terms of recruitment? Yeah. We've brought in, 12, 13 players, everyone to a man. It's just been phenomenal. They've bought into Ange Ball, and what have you, and like starting out at number one, You know what I mean? There we go.
Like it's Stank Monster there on the live chat there. I think he's new, Mark. So welcome. Like he said, of all the players we signed this season, we could only name two. Mark is Hart and McCarthy. We didn't know who anyone else was that came in, and you know,
it was just names really, Paul. See, because I play FIFA and that, I recognise names, and because the amount of time I spend on the internet looking up football and stuff like that, I recognise names, but there was no kind of household names as such, do you know what I mean, that you would just, everybody knew everything about right away kind of thing. I mean, even Giacomakis, the top scorer in Holland, nobody really had a clue about him, do you know what I mean?
What would be your goal of the season? I think up until yesterday, I had Kyogo in the cup final, but yesterday's one was kind of similar to it. But I think I'm going to go Kyogo. But I think the most important goal we scored was Radisson against Ross County. I think that was a big game changer in the title. That last gas winner against Ross County in Dingywell. I'll come to you first, Brian.
Most important goal.
Like your best goal, like
your favourite, your goal of the season, Welshie.
Goal of the season, Kyogo in the cup final. All day long. You're talking about most important goals. Definitely Ralston's up there. Abada's at Dundee United.
Yeah.
Game that was a good one to get. But no,
these goals, Brian, were like for me, the ones you're saying there, Abada, Radisson's, like these were goals of Ange's system. What we've been talking about since he came in, we never stopped. Like these were injury time goals.
I think proven that Ange, well, they're quite guilty at looking at screamers for goals as well. But there's probably quite a few out there with a lot of class in play and how Ange would want them scored.
Yeah. You know, Mark, yourself?
I'm going to go with that second Paul in the derby, Celtic Park. I thought that was a cracker of a goal, just the way you put it in it. McGregor's
how he bended around the players, Mark, just to get in there. What that it was, and there's another player, Mark, who was just on a plane.
Exactly. And he's looked jaded and tired, and he's even come out himself and said it. We said the other week on the pod, Paul. Me and Terence both thought that would be his season would be done and dusted, but when he first came in, he's going to be sensational next season as well, I reckon. Once he gets a bit of a rest and a bit of pure pre-season under his belt, I think he'll be a great player for us.
Do you think as well, Mark, that the Radisson and Abada's goals, like that they were game changers in tipping the title towards us? Like,
definitely. Especially the Ralston one, really.
We're going to look back on the title win, and we're going to look back on these important wins, and that was just for me that tipped the titles towards us, like, you know.
It's probably one of the most important goals this season, Ralston's, but I'm still going to go with Hatati's seconds against them.
Terence?
Mine to be Kyogo in the cup final as well. I thought it was just an unbelievable finish, just unbelievable. The guy just knows where the goal is, and it's just pure class of a finish. But I'd be in agreement with the two lads. The Abada goal against Dundee United and Ralston goal. Do you know what I mean? They're game changers when it comes to winning the league. They're the matches that win you the leagues when you grind out a result like that. But goal of the season is definitely Kyogo's for me in the cup final.
Barry?
I went for Rogic's Maisie at Tannadice. My goal of the season, that was a brilliant goal. I don't know how many balls he beat, 5-6 players, curled it right in the far corner. I thought that was a cracker. But I agree with the guys. There's been some crackers. I loved, like Mark says, Hatati's goal. It wasn't just his finish; it was the build-up. It was absolutely brilliant. Juranovic to O'Reilly, Abada comes in off the wing, exchanges passes with Hatati, and a beautiful finish. But yeah, for my favourite goal, I went for Rogic against United.
What about yourself, John?
I think there's a few. There's actually been some tremendous goals this year, but I think I can't see past the Kyogo's winner in the League Cup final. But I'd also I think Hatati's against them, and I think even Abada's goal in that game, with the 3-0 game when he ghosts in as well. There was another one. I don't know if you remember when Matt O'Reilly scored after about 41 passes.
Yeah.
Kyogo was waiting to come on the park. That was his first game back, I think, and he couldn't get on the park. And there was another one, I don't know if it was against St Johnstone. There was a ball. That was Kyogo's first game back. He hits a long ball. I think Maida chests it. Right in the box, Maida chests it. The ball goes about 2,000. Maida chests it and a bladder rattles in as well. Was it against St Johnson?
I think those goals were in the same game, John. The O'Reilly's goal and about that one, it was the 7-0 against St Johnson.
That was a 7-0 game. Aye, I mean, they were two absolutely. I mean, I think there's about 40 passes in that. But that ball for Kyogo, and that happened again yesterday as well. That's obviously part of the thing as well. You know, Maida chests it down, and Abada just steals his toffee and just rattles the ball right into the net. You know, it's almost as if whoever's got the best chance to put the ball in the net here. You know, because Maida does well. But I think Abada, that's a fantastic finish. But and O'Reilly's after the passes, he's against them. But you can't say. I watched the League Cup final in Derry, and the guy beside me just turned around and said, the first one he said Larsson-esque, and Larsson-esque again. Just absolute two fantastic goals, but the second one was a pick for me.
I think as well, like, not only did we see cracking displays in attacking sense, but the defence this year, like, just conceding 22 goals, especially after the second half of the season, Barry, we saw kind of they started dealing with more set pieces better as well. I think, you know, I thought the defence this year has been, for me, Vickers and Starfelt are the best two defenders we've had to play together in a long time at Celtic.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with that, and you know, kudos especially at Starfelt. But I mean, like, I've never hid my admiration for Carter Vickers on this podcast numerous times. I just think he's an absolute Rolls Royce. I'd go as far to say, you know, Van Dijk. Like, I'm not saying he's as good as Van Dijk, but you know, there was times that Van Dijk in Scotland, I felt he thought he was too good for our game. But I just think Carter. But I mean, JFP said earlier, and quite rightly so, you know, if Joe Hart wasn't between the sticks, you know, we might not win this league. I'd go as far to say
exactly if Vickers wasn't there, yeah, exactly.
It could have been a different season for us. We're not going to say we wouldn't have won the league, but I think he just brings the calmness, the stability, and like I've said previously, you know, having that there for me has helped Starfelt, you know, come into his game, and he deservedly gets the recognition because he's had a great, you know, season as well. Starfelt, okay, he's had a few rope moments, but we spoke about before, he was thrown in the deep end in this team, you know, way back in August time, and he's gradually got better and better. And like you say, and the stats don't lie. You know, we've conceded the least amount of goals in the league. We've got the best defence, and those two as a partnership are as good a partnership as I could remember in a long time at the club.
Oh, definitely, I go along with that. I think, as you said there, like, the best defence we have was the last couple of years has been Van Dijk, like, but we saw a few times when Vickers wasn't in, we saw there was a shakiness, Mark, weren't there, when Welch and Starfelt were playing together. It always had to be Cam Vickers, or it had to be Welch or Starfelt, you know.
It's just a partnership, Paul. Just again, these guys have just come in and built up that total understanding. There's somebody asking Paul about if Carter Vickers and that will be staying. I'm just put up what you told me yesterday. For me, that's got to be a priority this summer. No matter what and who Ange wants to bring in, the priority's got to get Carter Vickers to stay at Celtic for next season.
Yep. I agree with that. Jota is an exceptional talent. It'll be fantastic to see him signed as well. But I agree with you. If it was one of the two, it would be CCV for me as well.
There's a story
to keep the partnership even growing, and to keep that kind of after what we've seen this season, it can only get better next year if we stay together.
I just want to tip in that story there, Mark. My buddy's a Spurs fan, and he was over at the Spurs Arsenal game there during the weekend. Supposedly Vickers was there, and the rumour was going around Spurs that Vickers still wants a crack at the Premier League. And he hasn't made any decision about Celtic yet because he wants to see what teams will actually come into him after a big display for Celtic this season. So
he doesn't stand a chance of getting in that team.
No, Spurs don't want him. Well, there's no getting back to Spurs. That's a given.
Spurs, he wants to see if other Premier League teams will come into him.
I mean, you mentioned Newcastle, Paul. Can you see the money that Newcastle have gone for Carter Vickers.
No, not wrong.
He's
No,
been out on loan to about 7 different teams. These
Exactly.
teams in the Premiership, to me, they're no way to take a chance. I think if he was here for another season, perhaps,
exactly.
and Champions League performed well, then that might be a different scenario. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm with Barry. I think Carter Vickers has been the best player for us this season.
Yeah, I think
But
just
when you
for
look at the money in England, I don't think they're going to be champing at his door too much to actually give him a first team place anyway.
no, I think for
Even
For
stay
me-
for a season with Champions League.
That's what I'm saying,
as
like, that's
well
what I'm
she's
saying,
saying there.
yeah,
Why
'cause,
go and
like,
play for Fulham? I mean, Fulham or
because-
Leicester or something like that.
Actually, Fulham
I
actually
think
good
he's
teams,
been-
Mark.
I think he's
Fulham-
been excellent, and he's my priority signing as well. But I don't think he's ever Van Dijk in his life.
No, because we look right. The teams that are supposedly interested, there's Everton, who still can get relegated, so that depends on them staying up. There's Fulham, who are coming up, and they're going to be a team, in my opinion, that are more likely to go back down next
They're
season.
fighting for survival right
You've-
away, isn't it?
Yeah, you've Crystal Palace, and there's always a freaking Brendan Rodgers thrown in there as well. But for me, if I was Cameron Vickers, I'd look at my career throughout the past couple of seasons. What you were saying there, Welchie, he's been on loan for about 7 different clubs, even in the lower leagues. And Martin O'Neill said this yesterday. Martin O'Neill said, Vicker now needs to make a choice in his career. Does he stay at Celtic knowing he's going to be playing week in and week out? He's already had the USA scouts over looking at him. This is a chance
That
for
was a
him.
big thing for me. That's
Yeah.
what was bothering him before
Yeah.
about his chances with
Exactly.
getting in the
There's
US
one thing
team.
you will say about him, he's been around a long time, the name's
Exactly.
been around a long time.
That's what I'm
But he
saying.
is only 24.
Yeah, still young, like, still very, very. I think I would actually, I don't know why he would even think about leaving Celtic, especially Mark, like you said, and Webster, we've Champions League next season. This
He's
is
not-
another season for him to showcase himself.
He's
And he
gambled.
can't compete.
Is he ever, if he leaves Celtic the new Paul, is he ever going to get a chance to play in the Champions League again?
No,
I honestly,
He
I
might-
think he's been fit.
He might, but it's a gamble.
Class.
No, that's that. Even, I mean, it's not as if any English teams for the Champions League are going to come in for him this summer. So, right, he's 24. He'll need to get down there, maybe to a Fulham or something, or an Everton, and try and catch the eye. Yeah, but I mean, that if he decides not to come to Celtic, he's probably thrown away the only chance he'll have to ever play in the Champions League.
Mhm.
And that's
That's right,
supposedly where players want
Yep.
to be. Do you know what I mean, sir?
So-
As I said, I think he's been fantastic, Mark. But I think you're 100% bang on. I don't think I don't think he's in the same league as Van Dijk. And if he doesn't go to the Champions League with us, I don't think he'll be going with anybody in England.
No,
Fine,
the
surely,
Champions League.
surely is it not a money then? Surely is it not a money issue if he does leave? Like if he's the chance to play Champions League football with Celtic, he can play in club football, and if he's willing to say, "Oh, I'd rather go to an Everton or a Fulham," surely that's only money.
See what
as
you're saying
opposed
there,
to-
Terence. I say this, see when I'm doing the moderating on the English forums and that, they all talk about players and they all want to leave, like say you're like Aston Villas, they want to play for Champions League teams. They don't want to play for Champions League teams, they
No.
want the wages that the Champions League teams pay.
So remember that time,
And
Mark,
that, do you know what I mean? That's the thing, because then I say to them, if you want to play in the Champions League, come and play with Celtic then, and you've got a 50-50 chance of doing it. If you come in and perform to a Champions League level, Celtic will give you the platform to get into that
That's
Champions
the prime
League.
example.
The thing with that as well is, Mark, the press exposure we're going to get next season with the Champions League and the feel-good factor in the club and we're going places.
Exactly.
He tells next season, and it's not just him. There's going to be plenty in that window where people are going to be looking at them.
Oh, Celtic's very, very quickly became a kind of a attractive prospect for players.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Everything's kind of buzzing about Ange, about us winning the league back and we're getting into the Champions League. So there's a big pool there. Even Carter Vickers decides to leave, there's a big pool there to get somebody as good as, if not maybe better in. And I've said the same with Jota. If Jota doesn't want to be here, we see with the money we're going to make off this season with the Champions League money, go and maybe sign a kind of marquee signing, somebody a wee bit special that we maybe couldn't maybe get without that kind of money. So as John said, and I've said it to you as well, Paul, that for me, Carter Vickers, between the two, it's got to be Carter Vickers all day long.
I remember Wilfred Zaha for Crystal Palace there, it was about 2 years ago. He said he wanted to leave for a Champions League team. And at the time, Arsenal were going to kind of go through a crisis. And they made a bid for him. And he caused uproar in the club, like saying, why didn't you sell me? And Steve Parish at the time turned to him and said, well, the agreement was if a Champions League team came in for you, and Arsenal aren't a Champions League team. Do you know what I mean? That was one of the best comments I ever heard from him. That's like, mind your peace alone, like, wouldn't it?
That's the key thing Lil would have done, isn't it?
Yeah, moving on, I suppose, look, we go to the...
John, are you all right for time?
Aye, I'll get another 10 minutes or so, or 5 or
Well,
10 minutes.
I
I heard the I heard the rumour yesterday. I don't know if there's any truth in it, but I remember Desmond's laddie was meant to be getting on the board a couple of years back. I heard rumours that that's back on the cards again. Anybody heard anything?
Yes, it's what. Do you know what? I was only thinking of that there the other day when Peter Law's son came into the recruitment, right? Mark Law, when he came in, and I was just trying to put two and two things together. I honestly think, Mark, we could see Desmond's son. Yeah, exactly.
Doing came up with three.
I think we could put I think Desmond's son, Mark, will come in there. Definitely.
That was a
surprised me with that's been going on for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So no, I wouldn't surprise me if that happened.
I think he's kind of been bred into it already, Jeffrey, because he's been he's been representing Dermot Desmond as well on the AGM and stuff like that. Just before you go,
I just asked John about this, because last time you were on, John, it was the board. You were really into the board about if they kind of ambitions to match the fans in that. So with Peter Law going, JFP, like, and Michael Nixon coming, like, he's back the manager. We've got the transfers in. We've made changes in the recruitment, bringing in 2 lads from sports science. We're after bringing in the scouting director now. Like, there's changes coming. Are you seeing us going different, changing behind the scenes?
I think it's good to see if that's true that Desmond's boys coming in as well. He's meant to be a Celtic man. I don't think you could criticise the club this season. You look at recruitment, as I say, it's been immaculate. Let's say there's no failure there. But we've put if a Germanic coming in for recruitment, he started out sports science. If Desmond's boys come in, I don't think. I think you'd be a hard man to be criticising the club for much this season. To be honest,
I got into a spat with somebody in the forum about it the other day. I don't know if you read it, John, because I said that if you've got to give the board some amount of credit for what's happened this year.
Absolutely fantastic,
because every decision, doesn't it? The final decision, whether Ange wants it or not, it's still them that are signing checks and making the actual final decision. So if you're praising Ange, you've got to, and you give the board grief when things don't go well, you've got to give them credit for when it does go well.
Aye, and they've obviously backed him. And I think they will continue to back him. I don't think Ange's the type of guy that. Do you remember? He had some fantastic comments a wee back at the start. You might remember, but he didn't. He pretty much threw the board under a bus when he said, "I'm always." He took the blame for the lack of players he's selling. His comment was something I can't remember what it was verbatim, but the comment was something to the effect that I'm obviously the buck stops with me. I'm obviously not doing a good enough job here. Convincing the board of the players that we need here. And then we had the January transfer window when I think many of the Japanese players coming in the transfer window as well.
They were signed and done, and the window wasn't even open, John.
They were done and done.
That's exactly
December.
Right. According to Scottish Press, Aaron Ramsey was the best bit of business ever done in Scotland in a January transfer window. I'm just hearing as well that their friends in Govan are giving it heading over to Seville. They're giving Jota tight on the plane.
What?
Jota's been getting it tight on the plane for our friends in Govan heading over to Seville. They never let you do, eh?
No, they don't. Like, I mean, if I was if I'm a football fan, and you know what, if you see another player, like you should be starstruck if you see another professional football player on the same plane, no matter who they are. Like,
on that note, before I go, Paul, they should never be allowed back in the stadium again.
No.
I seen Mark comment they were discussed in the forum the other day. There, why would you want to let them back in? There was a fantastic atmosphere in there yesterday. Or even the Glasgow derby when they weren't in, it was a fantastic atmosphere as well. I don't know why anybody would want to let them back in the stadium. And if the SFA's got something to say about it, the answer could be that
We'll see you in
you
court.
can get back. You can get back in when you can guarantee the safety of background staff that had to get stitched after their visit to Ibrox. So for me, they wouldn't be back in the stadium.
Definitely. Renty, just what John was saying there about the board, like there seems to be going in the right direction for a change. You know what I mean?
The fact of the matter is, we shouldn't be talking about the board.
No.
And but to me, that's it. If we're successful in the park, and the board are doing what they're doing behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So we're talking about them is when they try to make this, they try to come amongst the fans and making decisions that are wrong on that basis. But no, stick to making the right decisions and make the club money and let hands go over the football.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they seem to be
On the right road, they seem to be heading in the right direction.
Bringing in the fella like Michael Lord. I mean, who from what I read about him, Mark, is supposed to be one of the best scouts that Man City had, and they've actually got it that he's gone from Man City. Do you know what I mean? Like, and people are giving stick then because it's.
I think that's a good thing.
But Mark,
but see, if that's what it takes, John put something up about it. Everybody's going about nepotism, but John put something up about the difference between nepotism and actually like, using contacts to do the best for your business.
Exactly.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mark, he definitely won't be at the club if his father was still
No, I don't think he would have. No, but again, I don't think he would have been here. I don't think he'd have came, Paul, if he wasn't Peter Will's son.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He's been a Celtic supporter all his life. You don't do that, Joe, for the Man City group at that level for 10, 12 years or whatever.
And especially too, Mark, as well, that Ange knows him, and he's worked with Ange as well in Japan with Yokohama. Do you know what I mean? And so, like this, us bringing in this fella, like you're on about prize money that we have for the Champions League. The scouting ability that this fella has, that maybe the contacts that he has, do you mean the players that he knows can do a job? I think, Mark, it's one of the biggest appointments we've done in the board for a long time behind bar first team players. Do you know what I mean?
I think that as well. I think it's a great appointment. I don't really see any. See if it wasn't Peter Lill's son, nobody would be shouting it from the rooftops that we'd coached. It's like, as I said when I was arguing on the forum about it, Paul, if it was Bayern Munich or Barcelona or Real Madrid, he'd have scouting and recruitment, we'd be saying, well, that's some move for us. How did we manage to do that? Man City's scouting and he did recruitments as good a level as any of the other clubs. I mean, it's one of the biggest, richest clubs in the world. And he's done that job for so.
The thing is, Mark, he's just not looking after Man City. He's the
full group.
For the whole group, like, you know what I mean? Jeffrey, just before you go, your player of the year and why?
Callum McGregor for me, I think, and that's. I mean, as I said, there's no failure, Paul. You know, there's not been a failure in recruitment. There's no failure in the.
It's the one season when you could actually name a good few players for the player of the season, Jeffrey. And you could name numerous players. You know what I mean?
I think for Callum McGregor for his first. I mean, it could be Joe Hart for his bigger contribution. It could be Carter Vickers. It could be,
Kyogo for his goals. It could be
Kyogo for his goals. It could be Giacomakis. But for me,
Abada for everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Goals and assists. For a young lad, that's for what a debut season he's had. Honestly,
is he 19? Is he 20?
Just turned 20 now, John.
Fantastic player.
Do you know what I noticed yesterday about Callum McGregor, and you could see that he's a Celtic man true and true. When he was up singing, that the players themselves kind of walked away after the chant stopped, but he was still there with the fans singing on his own. champions again, or with a Celtic scarf around him. You know,
I don't know how many times Kyogo come back to dance as well.
It was unbelievable.
The moment for me was when Kyogo and Abada came out of the corner when the tune was on for the two of them. And
it was Scooter. One day was it Scooter? I think Scooter was playing Welch. I think was it Scooter.
We're not getting into this again, are we?
No, it was the Kyogo song.
Miley Cyrus.
But no, the two of them, as soon as it came on the channel, the two of them came bolting over to the corner and they just dropped up and down in front of us. Brilliant.
He loves it though, don't he? Kyogo loves
two boys with completely different cultures and backgrounds, and then embracing what's going on there. It's brilliant.
That's what I say. See right across the park. I think there's a massive Angie factor in here in terms of recruitment and what he's done for the spirit of the club. If you get a chance to see the celebrations in the dress, you can see, you know that they're just a tight group, and that's going to come from him.
They even waited to pop open the bottles of champagne until Joe Hart came in, JFP there. Yes, I saw one of those clips. Like it's just, I think, Barry, we spoke about it numerous of times, like that this team, they're just all together. Do you know what I mean? They just seem to be all getting along. It's down to one man. And I think it's a lot too has been down to Callum McGregor, and you could see why he was nominated for captain, because like these are players who didn't know each other, and he kind of brought this group of players together as well, on the pitch and off the pitch.
Callum needs to take a lot of credit for that as well. If you listen to Ange, he talks about he doesn't even go in the dressing room.
Callum McGregor,
he's actually the player. So I mean, there's got to be some, the rapport in there must be fantastic just for it to be players themselves.
Well, you yourself, who's your player of the year?
Carter Vickers, definitely Carter Vickers. I thought he'd been brilliant. He seems to have this turn of pace that you would expect of a big guy. But I think it was Livingston away we were watching, and a couple of times with the ball was quick, because we always struggled at Livingston. The ball was going out of the box, and for such a wee guy, I kept seeing how big he could jump, and you get no seeing him up close. And I just, for then on, I just watched him for the rest of the season. I thought, he'll do for me.
You think?
Defender.
I don't know if this is showing my age again, John. Maybe you'll need to back me up on this. Do you think he's got a bit of the Paul McGrath about him?
He's got that stature, hasn't he?
And just the way he moves about the park and that's who keeps me in mind, Carter Vickers.
There's a calmness about him, isn't there?
Oh, he never looks flustered, never. No.
He's no fancy. I don't think he's Van Dijk.
That's what you want from your...
But he's solid, But more like, I think the thing I thought yesterday as well, I thought when I was in the touchline against the West Ham, and you could see it again yesterday against Motherwell, we're a very, very small side.
Definitely.
Even in your two centre halves, I mean, I don't think any of them's over 6 feet.
No, his makeup's more like a sweeper, isn't he?
Aye, and you don't got a lot of height in the team. I'm not criticising him because he's been absolutely fantastic.
Do you think maybe that's why then JFP, maybe Premier League clubs maybe haven't been looking at him because of his height?
I mean, I think he's given you everything. Whether he's played beyond himself or not, we'll know next season. As I say, I think he's been brilliant. Don't want to take anything away from the guy, but I don't think he's Virgil van Dijk. And I think he could be. I think he could be replaced if he has to be replaced.
Try to keep one of these. Try and keep him for me as well. It's not just how well he's played this season. Him and Starfelt, I thought had a great season together.
I mean, 22 goals between them in the league, Reggie.
When was the last time we've gone into the following season with a settled back four? We can add to it, we can change things around. But them two there, if he leaves, realistically, we're looking at getting it right. At the moment, if he stays, if he stays, we're looking at somebody that can come in and help them. No sort of take over, just competition. But if he leaves, then we need somebody that can replace him.
Barry, come to you, but we know already because you jumped ahead and you spoiled everything. Barry?
I've been telling you this for the last 3
years. Yeah, you have, in fairness, mate. You have.
Carter Vickers for me, absolutely think he's been sensational. I really do. I'll not go over what I said earlier, but I know what JFP's saying about he's not a Virgil van Dijk, and he's not, but I don't think we need him to be a Virgil van Dijk. I don't think we need that, fans. He's very good at what he does. He's very composed. He's very strong. And you know what? See, for his height, he doesn't lose very many jumps in the air. He's very, very good in the air, Carter Vickers. So he's without that. And you know what? My favourite player is McGregor, always has been, and you know he has been sensational. But for me, I would go Carter. And you know what? I know there's not a young player option, but I'm glad Mark mentioned Abada.
Abada.
See, I think sometimes he gets a wee bit overlooked. But there was a stat came out today. He's got more goal contributions than any other player at the club. He's got 15 goals and 13 assists. So, and that for a guy who's maybe not played every game, I think, and who's just a young lad coming to the country, I think he deserves recognition for that.
He was out for a wee spell as well,
He
wasn't
was,
he?
yeah.
But
He was.
COVID and then picked up a knock as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was
He
another
does
one. I
as
mean,
well.
but I'm sure when you think about the injuries we've had for this season, and
Unbelievable, Mark. That's what I'm saying, Mark. This season, like, for us to be, like, we had no right to be in a title race in January, considering the injuries that we had. We had, there were stages we had no Cal McGregor. Hart was missing for a few games. Coyote was missing for half the season. You know what I mean? Abada was missing. Yotta was missing. Like, these were big players. Like, and for the team, like, this is just showing, like, just what you're saying, that every player bought into the AIM system. Like, any player that came in, they didn't let the team down. They came in and they did their job. Like,
Look at Abada went to centre forward. Remember this St John's game?
Yeah.
He scored two.
You know, like, we beat a Real Betis team with a second string Celtic team back in the Europa League. You know, like, it has really been a quite incredible freaking season. Like, you know what I mean? Mark, who's your player of the year?
Joe Hart, Paul. I mean, I was one who I said a couple of months ago that I thought McGregor would get it, and I can understand why, but for me it's just Joe Hart, just for everything he's done that we spoke about, everything he does as a keeper and as part of the squad, the kind of experience he brings in. I just think he's been one of the most important
Like, it's
signings in a long
phenomenal,
time.
Mark, that he wasn't included in the team of the year. That Craig Gordon has conceded more goals than him, and Joe Hart has only conceded 22. Like, we always said, Mark, that it's actually harder to be a Celtic goalkeeper than it is to be a Hearts keeper or a team keeper, because you're constantly on your feet. Do you know what I mean? And with Joe Hart, he's only getting to make one or two big saves in the game, but he still has to keep his concentration throughout the game. Do you get me?
Aye,
You know,
and he's made a few wee daft mistakes
Yeah.
since that goals in, but see if he wasn't making any wee daft mistakes, Paul, he wouldn't be at Celtic.
Yeah, but we talk about, Mark,
No, I mean, it's just his
the
age, he's
goals that
maybe
we
catching
scored,
up
like,
a bit.
but there was as many big saves that Joe Hart made, like that game against the Old Firm, like when it was 1-1, he went down to his fucking near post,
Aye.
just tipped it, and then he got back up then to make the second save. Like this is, for me, £1 million, Mark, it was a steal. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like
Definite bargain.
considering what you're paying for players now, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Another
realistically.
goalkeeper coming through.
Oh, aye.
I haven't heard, Welsh. I haven't heard. I'm going to go Joe Hart anyway, the same as Mark. I said Joe Hart all along as well, so it's Joe Hart. Terence?
Yeah, for me, it would be Joe Hart as well. As much as I loved Callum McGregor and I was delighted to see him have the season he had, I thought Joe Hart was just unbelievable. And on those two matches in particular, Paul, the save he made in the Derby match in their place down the bottom corner, fabulous save. And then the save when it was 1-1 the Parkhead there near the end of the game, it was an unbelievable save that he made as well there as well. So for me it was Joe Hart. I think he's been immense. He's been absolutely brilliant. And again, one of the main reasons, as we said already, that the title is back where it belongs and normal service is resumed.
Do you know what though, Barry? I think this season, and I can't remember a season like it, that you can pick any player really to be up there for your player of the year. Everyone has been phenomenal. Like, you could even track back to Craig Taylor, who for me has he got his fair share of criticism as well.
Greg Taylor.
But he is. But he, to hear you,
Craig Taylor, is that I don't know you've got to say that. Is that not a singer?
A Miley Cyrus song. Jesus.
No, it's Craig Taylor.
You could pick any
Craig
player for Player of the Year
David,
this
Craig
season.
David, I'm hanging.
Yeah. That's it. That's what
Back
he's
to the
thinking of doing.
podcast. Back to the podcast. You could pick any player for Player of the Season,
You
could
know
you?
what? The most impressive thing, Paul, it's the team.
Mhm.
You know, everybody's played their part. So yeah, I mean, you know, you can go through many of them. We've talked about the defender, talked about the goalkeeper. That's got some of your guys' nominations. The contribution that the forwards have made: Kyogo, Giakoumakis, Jota, Abada. You know, Callum McGregor is the anchor. Rogic, the performances he's put in. O'Reilly since he's came in January, and before that, David Turnbull before he got injured at Christmas time. So, but the most impressive thing is how they've performed as a team and where we are right now, and that's champions of Scotland, and that's because of the contribution of the whole squad, and that's the most impressive thing. But like I say, we'll have to pick individuals. We've all gone for various different players, but for me, as a team, that's been the most impressive thing.
Like there's a
And
team,
I think after the trophy parade and that yesterday, we can put to bed all this talk about who gets medals and stuff like that.
You know what
I
would be
mean-
a struggle as well? You struggle.
I mean,
to
that
pick a
we
first
done
11.
Belly was out there getting a medal and everything yesterday.
But you know what,
Solid
Mark?
flag, trophy.
Aye, those are they're what you call the cinch medals. The official medals are the ones that you have to get appearances for. I think that's what they were talking about. Welsh and McCarthy were one short up until yesterday. You get actual official medals. Those are
No.
just the sponsorship medals.
It's I read it up. One of the rules, Barry, says that you get 25 medals, but the club can buy more.
Can purchase them. That's right. Aye, well, the interpreter, and I mean, he had one yesterday as
Aye.
well as the God. There was an absolute entourage. Of
That's what I
backroom
mean.
staff, wasn't there?
Aye, everybody seemed to be turning up for him.
Yeah.
92 of Celtic's 135 goals this season, Mark, have been scored by players who haven't been at the club last season. There was 10 players who weren't at the club last season, and 92 of them. Like, that's just showing what JFP was saying there about recruitment. Like, you know what I mean? We were missing big players. Abada was stepping in. Yotta was stepping in. Do you know what I mean? J. Marcus was stepping in. Do you know what I mean? Like, the signings have been just brilliant. Like,
They were stepping into well done loan for them, Paul, but just even, do you think she wants to have actually arrived and realised when it's at the size of the club and the pressure that's on them as players? And like, I mean,
Exactly.
Abada and Bitton, they're kind of posting about their social medias about their love for each other, and that's obviously Bitton's took Abada under his wing when he came out here and stuff like that.
definitely.
And Abada, Jota, even Carter Vickers had been just dodged about lower league English teams. I mean, they've come into that kind of atmosphere and that kind of pressure, and they've stepped up to the plate
Like,
above
even Liam
and
Scales
beyond.
have-
Above
Liam
and beyond.
Scales has even
Through a
has
middle
even
shed.
chipped in with goals.
Did you
Like,
see
Liam
his
Scales
hair?
has 3
Did you
goals.
see his hair yesterday, Paul?
Did he cut it?
He's got a daft middle dig.
Oh God!
Brutal.
It was shocking.
Brutal. was
Terence, did you see it?
Oh, it was horrific. It looked like a wig. It was shit. It was horrendous. Like, I was looking at him going, Jesus, man, you're a disgrace. Cut your hair. Fucking hell, like.
I'm definitely not going
Looked
up
like
to
he was in
Limerick, so
sixth.
Terence. That's why I'm not.
But he looked like he was in 6th class or something like that. Honestly, he looked like he was going to school tomorrow. It was fucking horrendous. Like, it was a shame.
No wonder Andrews isn't giving him a game. So
What worse than Paul's man bun?
two players, lads, who have been great sovereigns to the club since 2013 when they signed. Neil Beeson and Tom Rogic. Mark, they were like, Beeson got criticised because no fault of his own. He was put in the position when he wasn't supposed to be playing those centre back, Mark. You know what I mean? But I think this season, Mark, we saw what Neil Beeson does bring to Celtic.
I can't fault him this season, Paul. You really can't. Yeah, but everybody knew what he could do playing that position. It was just Rodgers decided he was playing him as a centre back. I see Julian did a wee dig about it as well.
I'll speak about Julian afterwards, Mark. Yeah, I'll
He
speak
said
about
that he did a wee dig about he'd rather play a centre midfielder in there or something like that. But we all knew Beaton was a good player in there, Paul. And again, it's just maybe the ideal player for the way Ange wants to play.
Julian.
Do you know what I mean? It's probably that. And I said that ago, Paul's just his age, blah blah blah. Maybe want time for him to get back to Israel, and that's what he's doing with his family. So, all the best to him and good luck.
Like it was really nice as well of the club, Mark, to let Rogic and Bishan bring out the league. You know,
It was a nice touch, aye.
Like they spent practically, Mark, you could say they spent most of their career at Celtic. Like, but as you said, Mark, there comes a time when family does come first, and that's the reasons. I said it here 3 weeks ago that Tom Rogic was going to leave, and I was right. Always right. I'm always right. So don't be dissing the stats. Right? You know, always right. Barry, you were on the podcast 3 weeks ago, and I said Tom Rogic's going to leave.
Well,
Just say aye, Barry. Just agree with him.
We've been doing the podcast for about 18 months now. You're going to get something right at some point. Two fantastic servants for the club, and they'll be fondly remembered because they've been at the club, through a really successful period, and they both made massive contributions. Rogic came to the club as a young guy. Spent most of his adult life here.
I was actually looking at the pictures there when I was looking through the pictures that Barry when he signed. Like, Jesus, he was a really young lad when he signed for Celtic.
Yeah,
like.
I think he was only 19 or 20-year-old. So he came across from Australia, Central Coast Mariners, and nobody really heard him. But he's made a massive impact. He's left us with some great memories. Goals against,
especially the Aberdeen
Cup final.
His cup final goal. His cup final goal. That's down in folklore. Do you know what I mean?
That'll long live in the memory, and he's always been a big game player. Blighted with injuries at times, and sometimes people questioned his fitness. But all in all, both of them have been fantastic players for the club, and I wish them both really well, and hopefully they enjoy the rest of their careers. But I was at the game yesterday as well, and I must admit I felt a bit emotional about the pair of them. To be honest, it wasn't emotional.
Rogic got really upset. See, when he went off when they subbed him at the camera. I don't agree with things like that. The camera kept panning in on him. James Forrest was sitting talking to him, and he was just sitting there wiping his eyes, trying to wipe away the tears and that. You could tell that he was really upset about it. But his wife, I'm sure his wife's Scottish. And he's not going back to Australia. He said that in an interview.
Wants to go near to home.
Aye. So I don't know if Angie's maybe going to try and sort him out at maybe a gig in Japan or something like that, Paul. But I just think it's weird for his age, because he's only 29. I think it's weird that he's maybe took this decision to move on now, especially after having one of his best seasons for us.
I think it was strange. It was his best season. I think Angie get the best out of him, and with the two of them being Australian, I was quite surprised that Rogic's. I'm disappointed to see him going as well. But it's a strange one. It's obviously like a personal decision because
when you see two of them leave at the same time, it's an end of an era. Like, but just go back to something me you and I think it was Barry discussed it with us. Do you think that now looking at them two players leaving, that this could have maybe been the reason why they gave James Forrest this extra contract extension, because the two experienced players leaving?
You had to put a damper on the night, didn't you?
Oh.
No, I think it could have been, though, could it? How did I put a damper on the night? I went from two players.
But pure homage to Tom Rogic and near Bitton, you bring up, we gave James Forrest a 2-year contract extension. We were on a happy mood there.
But was that not happy that he's getting a 2-year contract?
Well, I'm not happy about it.
But do you think that could have maybe been the reason that two experienced players leaving?
So, Mark, would you prefer to see 3 players leaving?
You opened the can of worms.
I'm dirty to them. No, but I didn't. I probably has maybe got a party at Paul, and as we spoke about in the last pod, it's got to be in lower wages and that. It's got to be more.
He's definitely not going to be
a
first team right anyway. Do you know?
No, it's definitely not going to be a first pick anyway. No, I can't see it. So maybe it has got something to do with it, but I said, see if it is on, it's on a mere appearance-based wages and that, fair enough, but I still think it's a really, really weird decision to give Forrest a new contract.
I mean, you're two midfielders down again, and we're just as we've been talking. I think we all agree that some agree that the midfield's area where we're needing to strengthen, and you're a further two midfielders down now. So the need is even more. I'm sure Angie knows that, and he'll be looking to strengthen there. But it's just a strange one. I mean, obviously, I think the club was willing to offer the two of them a contract, so it's obviously a personal decision for the two of them.
You can understand. You can maybe understand if he beat on. He's what 31 now or something. So he's maybe want to play every week. He's not going to play every week at Celtic. I mean, Barry, we'll put it with you. When you're a young player, you want to play every week, no matter who it is. And when your career's winding down, you want to make sure you're getting every game under your belt, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. And Bitton's at that age, like you've said, Matt, you know, it's not like he's 34, 35, where you would be prepared to potentially play a bit part player. He's still got a good few, and he's a fit guy. You know, he's still got a good few years. So I think he's probably come to the realisation that he is going to be a bit part player, play here and there at the club. And I think he's probably decided along with his family that now's the best time to move on. And, you know, what better time to go away on a high, winning another title, another medal add to his collection.
Did I read, is it 30 trophies between the two of them, is it?
There's a lot.
He just thinks it's hilarious. They say 33 and a third, Bawz. I'll just make them happy. Say 33 and a third.
Oh my God, tonight, by what?
You're getting it tight tonight, buddy.
I'm trying to run a podcast here, like, you know what I mean?
You're better off saying 1/114, the other 1/16, the same as the hassle.
You know, but it's been some
medals, Paul. It's been some medals they've won between the two of them. That's
yeah, but it has been some trophy heart, like, between the two lads, like, I mean, to win that amount of trophies at one club, like, and I'm sure, like, Rogic had his chance to leave, Mark, or Beeson might have his chance to leave, like, but
well, Rogic had his chance to go to
Saudi Arabia.
I don't know, is that in Asia, John? I don't mind that one on the forum. I didn't know where they were, what continent it was.
The two continents.
Was it Qatar or whatever it was that wanted to deal for them serious, I know what I mean, like serious money, and it was just, they turned that down. I mean, we don't know what could be, you know, in his personal life.
See the mad thing with Rogic, because see if he went last season,
You'd have
waved your hand, waved your wife by, saying, see this season, it's a wee bit gut wrenching now because he's had a great season.
Mm-hmm.
And Bitton's probably the same.
And it's a nice gesture too, Mark, by the club, like, not to look for a fee in the last year, because that Celtic are in their right to ask for a fee too, Mark. Do you know what I mean? You know, it was a nice gesture by the club to let them go as well.
I've seen it as well, Paul, that some people said it was the last year was like a year's option. Like
the Lee Griffiths thing that time.
But I spoke about this before, Paul, because it happened with Scott Sinclair.
Mm-hmm.
Celtic seem to be in future when players sign contracts. We'll need to keep this in mind, Paul. It seems to be that Celtic announced that they've signed a 5-year contract, but it's only 4. When it comes to the crunch, it's only a 4-year contract with like a year's option. But they don't announce that at the time. It's only when it comes into...
That could be... We could find out some that down the line, so that could be the same...
So I don't know whether that's...
with James Forrest, like, you know what I mean?
I don't know. He had a year to go, Paul, and they've gave him another 2, so that's like a 2-year extension on the year that he had. But that's when it came up with Scott Sinclair, because there was a wee bit of confusion with his contract and stuff like that. And I put up links to the Celtic website when they announced it as a contract, and then it turned out that the final year was only an option, so we need to kind of keep an eye on that, maybe when they're talking about these kind of, what's getting reported, it's what they're signing kind of thing. But as I've said as well, Paul, see if they looked into it, how much would it keep them in wages for a year if they just stayed here to leave for nothing next year? Bonuses that they might be due and all sorts of stuff. But even if they did have a year left, Paul, Probably you're talking only a couple of £100,000
Exactly.
they would be arguing about when they were off.
Look what we're saving in wages then.
Aye.
It's actually costing you more to keep them there after going to be sitting on the bench. Do you know
Aye.
what I mean? You know, like good news this week
And
as well
plus,
is
at
that
the end of every contract as well, you're due a lot like loyalty bonuses and stuff like that as well.
and Meada came out as well, Mark, this week signing a new contract, which I think that's going to be the key this season, Barry, is keeping the group of players together.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there'll be a bit of turnover.
Yeah,
I really do,
definitely.
because I think we spoke about previously. We do need to ship the players out that are going to play no part in the squad. You know, your balling goalies, your Barcases, Ayetes, they're not going to play a part in the squad. And I think it's clear that Julian's another one. They're not getting any sort of, not even on the bench. So I think we will see quite I mean, it's not going to be as drastic as it was last summer. You're not going to see 12, 13 players come in, but it wouldn't surprise me to see 6 or 7 players.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think, if we're going to progress as
We
a
need
football
that.
team in the way that you do need better players. And you know what? It's probably not going to be an overly popular opinion, and I accept that. But because I love the guy, and I've said on the podcast how happy I was that he's done so well. But if I'm being honest, I think if we're going to progress as a football team, and Andrew said himself that he wants to try and make some kind of impact in Europe. See guys like Ralston, I do think we're going to be better than that, and Taylor as well, who hats off to them. They've had great seasons, but if we're going to move to that next level, for me, we need a better quality of player than those two amongst 2 of the others.
Mm-hmm. One player there you touched on, and I saw him in the celebrations yesterday. I said it to you, Mark, as well, that he didn't seem to celebrate with the team. He came out this week and said that if he doesn't get kind of a bit of game time over the weekend or in their future, he'd be looking at his own career. I think he's finished. I think Julian's finished, Mark, isn't he?
That's it, Paul.
Even after that, Mark.
If he hadn't burnt his bridges before that interview, he's burnt them now. Julian's not got any future at Celtic. That's it, Paul. There's people on Twitter and that saying, Julian should be in the team before Starfelt. I hadn't seen Julian. He's still not really seen Julian kick a ball in any kind of anger. He's shown him nothing. And it's supposedly as well, Kev was saying yesterday on the live chat, he get sent away for training. A training thing the other week at Lennoxtown. He get sent away training his own, and there was a bit of a bust up with the players because of Julian's attitude. Again, it's just the kind of, there's been all these rumours for the last couple of months. He's kind of spat the dummy out in that, Paul, and I think just for the last few days it's just kind of shown that it's been the case.
I think now as well, though, Terence, we have a manager in Ange that's not going to stand for that. Like, you know what I mean? Won't stand for this crap. Like, I think Julian is finished.
Oh, I do too. He's a steamer. Like, there's no question about it. He's just a steamer. Like, you can't be out for that long and be pissing and moaning. He's just a moaning old bastard, is what he is.
He's eating surrender monkey.
He's a fucking big girl's blouse. Like, he's 6 foot something. He can't take a tackle. He pisses and moans like there's no tomorrow. My wife doesn't moan as much as he would. The sooner he fucks off with the other French boys, the better off.
Well said, Terence.
He should be embarrassed to be. If I was his height, I'd be butchering fellas all over the place. And he can't take a challenge, and he's on the ground rolling around. Listen, the sooner he fucks off, the better.
I was thinking when Mark said there that did they have a future at Celtic, I can't remember him having that past.
I don't get where it comes from either, John. I really don't. The kind of way
I watched the Mark. I text you after, Mark. I watched the Glasgow Cup when Julian came into the B League there, and it's the same things that I always remember Julian of doing, giving away silly free kicks in around the area.
Aye, Paul, that was
for sure. But the way Ange wants to play his team and it's people slotting in, it's never the same 2 teams every week. It's one of them things players are just going to have to accept. If you can't buy into that, nobody fit in.
His attitude stinks, though. His attitude is the problem. He's a horrific attitude for a fella for a professional footballer in where he is and what's at his feet. his behaviour is absolutely shocking. And I like you, Paul. I saw that match, that B match, or whatever you wanted, that Glasgow Cup one against Rangers, and like, you swear you think he should have been head and shoulders above anyone else on that pitch.
Like,
And
to
he was-
think, exactly, Terence, and the mistakes he was making
yeah,
was
he was brutal. Like,
unbelievable. Like, for Davy Boy there, Welch is saying in the live chat that Ange made a statement to Julian by naming Stephen Welch in the squad and not him, and then bringing on Stephen Welch. For me, Stephen Welch is above Julian the pecking order anyway.
That's what I've said, Paul.
But Stephen
Yeah.
Welsh has earned his spot. That's
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It wasn't. It's no Starfelt or Carter Vickers that Julian needs to displace. It's young Welsh,
Mhm.
and at
to
least
be fair,
young
young
Welsh
Welsh,
shows a
like,
bit.
at
Shows
least
a
young
bit of
Welsh,
metal, a bit of commitment.
He hasn't, when he slotted in, he hasn't really let the club down, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, it's like we're talking about there, Paul. Greg Taylor's no good enough for the Champions League. Right? Is Ralston good enough for the Champions League? Well, but for me, Juranovic will start if he's fit. Whoever the left back will bring in during the summer will start our Taylor. You know, if Stephen Welsh isn't good enough to play in the Champions League, but he's more than capable of covering for us in the league and stuff like that.
Just go around to you, like, where do you think the improvements need to be made for next season? Like, you know, JFPI, start yourself first. Where do you think we need improvements?
For me, my biggie is the midfield, and that's based on, as I said, the last just running through the games, as I said, that we played against them, the way we were bullied in the middle of the park. I think any of the games could have went the other way. I think we need physicality that we've not got just now. As much as I love him, it's fun. For me, the middle of the park, a Paul Lambert, a Neil Lennon, as Lawrence Ferguson one, I've not seen enough of the guy, but that type of player, I think, as much as it pains me to say it, because I think he's had a fantastic season, I've been defending him in my nosebleeds, I think we probably need cover, as Barry said, at left back, and indeed possibly at right back. And I think Adrian Coatbridge at left back and right back yesterday, when Welsh and Ralston was on. But I think Ralston's, is he good enough to go that next level? Is Taylor good enough? Probably not. So cover at left back, possibly even at right back. Do we need? I think we're okay for width. You've got Jota, you've got, hopefully, Jamesy Boy, Abada.
Mikey
Do we need another
Johnson.
striker? Do we need another striker?
I do.
Do we need another striker?
I think so, yeah.
I think so. I think so.
If a yes, he's going to be gone. So don't
You need-
throw in.
Even play. I've explained. I keep saying this. See, if you're playing with one up front, you need three strikers. Because say it there, Kyogo gets injured, all you've got is Giacomakis. You still need another striker to be able to go on your bench. You're maybe looking at a young
Johnny
again.
Mark, do you think, and not being in a striker?
Aye,
Maybe?
well, that's what I was going to say, Paul.
Yeah.
Whether we look at it needs to be somebody that's quite happy to be third choice. So you're either going for like a young player that's going to want to try and make a grade at Celtic, or promote for the academy if there's anybody good enough. That young lad Kenny you're talking about, Paul.
Yeah, he's
or
good, Mark.
or you're looking at an older player. I mean, they went and signed Defoe, but that's the kind of thing that, for me, but they need a third striker just so that to keep the numbers up, I think.
What about yourself, Barry?
I kind of agree with you guys. I think possibly, definitely a left back will come in. I think regardless if Carter Vickers signs or not, I think another centre half will come in. We're potentially a Carter Vickers injury away from, disrupting that partnership. Midfield, I think midfield is going to be a big focus for Ange. I really do. And like going on what JFP said there. See, for me, I've seen enough of Lewis Ferguson to, in my opinion, to think he would slot right in there. I really do think he's the best young midfielder in Scotland. And we missed a clip the last time with John McGinn. I think, if anything, Ferguson's got the potential to be even better. And you know what? I had a conversation offline with Mark about it, just to ask, are we even linked with the guy? Because
No.
I've never heard or any stories. Or
Never.
anything. He would
We've looked at him in that,
Scott-
even if it was Neil Lennon, we kind of sniff up, just kind of watching, but there's not been any kind of concrete.
So I mean, it might not be him, but I definitely think we'll look to strengthen the midfield. And like John said there, that was before Bitton and Rogic decided to move on. So I think there'll be a big focus on recruitment in the midfield.
That's what I was saying.
Can McCarthy not take Beaton's place in the squad?
You know what, Mark? You guys know what I feel.
I mean, McCarthy's obviously there to happy to be a squad player.
That's what I'm saying, Mark. Pre-season could be big for James McCarthy.
I just don't think. Something. There's too much of his game that for me struggling in our midfield. He's good. He tends to be better when the opposition have got the ball, but his distribution is ropey at best, and his awareness as well was a bit of a struggle. I think again, I just think we need better than James McCarthy. I was quite excited to see him playing this season, and it's just never worked out for him, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
See, Lewis Ferguson's got, I think when you go down the goal stats, I think apart from front players, he's the next highest scorer as well. I think he's sitting about 11 or 12 goals or something as well. So there's obviously goals in the boy too. Apparently he's got a bit of dig. He's got that wee edge that I would like to see there. Just
we should always be looking to sign the best young players in Scotland.
Exactly.
All big team. That's what big teams do. Yeah. Bayern Munich scour the league for the best young players and sign them. Even when you get back to Rangers signing like Ian Ferguson and that, John.
Yep.
I mean, didn't sign Ian Ferguson to win the European Cup or the Champions League. They signed Ian Ferguson because he could go toe to toe and be Scott. But do you know what I mean? When the big star players were out
for years, Mark, they bought some player that they knew that he would get into their first team, but they bought him because they didn't want Brucey Deutman to have him. Was that the same with the fella Allen that time with Celtic, wasn't it?
That's the kind of thing that Celtic should be doing. Doesn't matter what's going on, I know, but Celtic should always be chatting at the door for the best young players in Scotland. No matter, I mean, they're all raving about that Ramsey for Aberdeen, Paul. I keep going on about it. Mind, Jota bullied him.
He did, yeah.
That every time they two went up together, it was up at POTY, went to every time the two of them went for the same ball, that Ramsey was rolling about in the ground and it was a foul to Aberdeen. See, the guy's a cheater, he's a complete pussy. And now you've got Liverpool and that sniffing about him.
Well, gee, yourself?
No,
the same.
I just like Barry was saying before, improvements. There's a lot of money coming out of the club just now. So it's like to see what kind of budget Ange gets and where there's Mark Lowell coming in. It'd be interesting to see which route we go down. But obviously, I take strength of positions all over the park because you can never have too big a squad. But the players that come in need to be better than what we've got. It needs to be competition.
You see, that's my thing. Like, I don't want players. I just hope now with Ange, Brian, that we're gone past it. We're not buying players that aren't going to sit in the bench to get me. We've seen too many that over the seasons. I think that's the best thing about this season is that we've signed players who actually are good players that they set up from the start. But I think Mark could be attracting serious players to Celtic next season. Like, I really do. Like, I'm really excited by this appointment. Like,
you'll have contacts all over the world, Paul, and you'll know about players all over the world. I mean, but we're sitting there talking about Lewis Ferguson. That for all we know, Mark Lowell knows some young in Belgium that's 10 times a player of Lewis Ferguson.
It's interesting. There came up over there, Ferguson there, right? Ferguson has 10 goals this season, right? And those 10 goals were penalties. So he actually hasn't.
With the old penalties?
Yeah.
The one he scored against us at POTY was a header.
Yeah, exactly.
He actually scored twice against us at POTY,
two headers.
One in the first game, one in the second game.
Maybe he's missed.
Barry's played the game and Barry's watched him and Barry thinks he can slot in and do a job. It's just my concern, as I say.
That's the biggest area.
Do you think he's good enough for Europe, Barry?
Fergus, it's difficult to say, Welshie, isn't it? It's difficult to say because I don't think he's played that level. But I just, from what I've seen of him against us, against other teams, he just for me screams out the sort of Scott Brown's replacement. He really does.
Is Matt O'Reilly? Matt O'Reilly good enough for Europe? You know what I mean?
No. But the point where I was trying to go with that sort of thing was, if we're going to play with that type of player, and it's going to be for certain games, isn't it? Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's Europe becomes a big part of that system if you're going to play somebody in like that position.
Exactly.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying about like when they went and signed like the likes of Ian Ferguson. He was only signed to play in the league games for them. So Ferguson would be signed for that kind of level. I know what you mean there, Brian. Just like the SPL level kind of thing, but we need better than him for the Champions League and that.
You know what, guys? You know what? We're safe in the knowledge of knowing. Look at the recruitment job that Andrew's done this season, and we've now got Mark Law on board. So regardless, players that we can throw up here, I'm fully confident that this summer that the recruitment is going to be bang on because he's got the track record of this season of bringing in fantastic players that have done a great job for it. So like Mark says, if it's not Lewis Ferguson, we might end up with a gem that we've never heard that's even better than Lewis Ferguson.
The good thing as well, Barry, is I don't think we'll be looking for squad fillers. No, and that's we will actually be looking for players that will improve.
That's important because, I'm sure you all. I was at the game yesterday, but I watched it when it came back because I wanted to see all the celebrations on TV. And Andrew standing with O'Neill and that, and he said, and it was great to hear. He said, "Look," he says, "this club belongs in the Champions League." He says, "But I don't want us just to be in it. I want to make some sort of impact." And that's his vision. That's his mentality and his mindset. He's not just wanting there to make up the numbers. He's going to want there to go and try and do something. And if he means that, it means that getting some serious talent in the door, because with all due respect, and I love the players and I love the squad and what they've done this season, if we're going to take it to the next level, we need to be better, and we'll probably bring in some better players. And like you say there, Welshie, it's not going to be guys that are going to come in and fill spots on the bench or fill spots in the squad. It's guys that are going to be challenging to play first team without a shadow of a doubt.
And they're going to need to be decent. I mean, for what the players that we've got to know, for what they've done this season, the players are going to need to. Players that are going to come in are going to need to really work hard and prove themselves and be good, better players than what we've actually picking every week.
But you want the knock-on effect as well. You want better players coming in.
It just keeps the competition up and running.
Exactly. You look at Ralston just now, and that's the best thing for Juranovic is the way Ralston's playing. And it's the knock-on effect on the pitch. If you somebody play out Giacomakis, Kyogo, fighting for the same position.
Look at Forrest when Roberts was here. I mean, that was one of Forrest's best times for his winter when Paddy Roberts was in that mate's heels.
It was. That was the best time I ever saw James Forrest in the Celtic jersey anyway, Mark. Was around that time when Patrick Roberts was sniffing around him. But do you think we get the transfer business done early this summer?
It depends what players we're going for, doesn't it? Because the market's changed, don't they? The market we're shopping is completely different to us. So it's whether he's got people in mind goes for him straight away, or it's waiting.
I think we could. I think Neddy as well, though. Well, I think we could find it hard to get rid.
Qualifiers this year's a great bonus.
Yeah, but I think we could find it hard to get rid of the likes of a Yessi and Barkas. I think we could find it very hard to get rid of them. I really do. I think we find it hard to get rid of them.
No, if you just cut your losses, Paul.
That's it. Just got shot, don't you?
But that's what I'm saying.
No, but there'll be somebody there willing to. Even if it's £1 million, £500,000, there'll be somebody somewhere who'll pay that. There'll be somebody willing to pay that.
Of all the signings, and I'm actually.
I still maintain, Paul, that Barkas will move to somebody, a totally different player. I still maintain that. He'll probably come back and bite us with a bum in the Champions League.
We were saying there, Mark, we heard rumours last year about his English, that his English wasn't great and stuff like that. He was on Twitter yesterday driving down the car with a beer in his hand, talking away to the Celtic fans.
That was all rubbish, Paul, because he did an interview on Celtic TV that was speaking English in.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He's just a shit goalkeeper.
Just a shit goalkeeper.
You know what? There comes a point where, okay, these players are on decent wages, but there becomes a point where they need to realise they're not going to play. And these guys are relatively young. They're not players like we spoke about earlier that are quite happy to sit tight and pick up their wage. They're going to need to realise for the good of their career that it's
best. He must back himself, Barkas. The fact he's in a £7 million transfer here, he'll not be sitting there thinking, I'm shy.
No.
I mean, like Barkas, when he signed for us, he was the #1 Greece goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? And he'd probably, if he wants to come number one Greece goalkeeper again, he's going to have to move. You know what I mean?
I'd bribe somebody.
I think
Was there no a Swiss team in for a Yeti, Paul, in January?
It was, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That was only a loan deal, though, Denmark. That was his
Even
own
at
club.
that,
was
just
Basel.
pop them out and loan if that's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. You know, that was Basel. So we already have Rogic, Bitton, I think, Yeti, Barkas, Bolingoli,
Zorro.
Who else is there? I think McCarthy could go. Really do.
Another 3 years in his contract.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. I just
Again,
thought
again, Paul. But that's going to come for me. That's going to come down to McCarthy self. Whether he's wanting to try and fight his way into the Celtic team or wants to. He's at that age, like we're talking about, like Bitton and that, where he wants to be somewhere that he's going to be just playing every week.
Because I can't see really another a Fulham no mark or something like that.
Do you think? Do any think there'll be any kind of exits? I don't know. Say a £25 million bid for Cal McGregor.
No.
I don't think McGregor would go.
I don't think he would now. Seems like
I'm just using that. I'm talking about something we're just no considering kind of thing, because the players have stepped up beyond the.
I'm absolutely amazed that somebody hasn't come in. I think I said that last week as well in the forum. I'm amazed that somebody hasn't come in for McGregor, because I think he's a fantastic football player.
I think someone will come in for Kyogo.
To be honest with you, I think one of the things getting the transfers right this summer is actually very important for keeping the squad going, because I think next season that's where you're going to see people chapping on doors big time. You know, if they have the same impact next season in the Champions League as they've had this season, when you get a bad as your Kyogos, then it could be, there could be a lot of things happening next season.
I totally agree with what John said there about McGregor. For me, McGregor could play in probably any team in the world, John, I think.
Yep, I think he's a fantastic football player.
I don't even think he gets the recognition he deserves. See, even with the media and things like that, I don't think he kind of gets. See if he played for the team for the other side of Glasgow, he'd be hyped up a lot more in the press and the media and that as well. He's really underrated outside Celtic fans, I think.
I think you're right. Yep, I think he is underrated as well. I think it's talking about people coming in. I think Kyogo can score goals anywhere.
I'd be afraid, JFP, that there'd be a bid coming for him, Kyogo.
I think Kyogo's here for as long as Ange's here.
But that's what I was going to say, Mark. I think there's a loyalty now between the four lads and Ange. I think there's a loyalty there to him, because I remember when DJ Almeida was leaving Yokohama, he said he's going back to the boss, so there's actually a respect that they actually have for Ange himself.
See, but Paul, I know I've read something, I don't know, was it GOTY that said that he's going to end up playing at the very highest level of the game kind of thing or something in an interview. That's his kind of ambition. He's only a young guy now, so you can see that, but John said earlier, they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Ange.
Definitely.
I don't think they're the type of people. They're not here thinking, I'll play here for a year and then maybe get I moved to England to double my whatever wages. I don't think the players are here for that. Do you know what I mean? I really don't.
I don't think so. Do you know who was? I was watching him yesterday, and he's a part of Celtic now. Is their translator? He's in every picture. He's in every picture. Ange, he has his medal and everything.
Even the one other night at Tannadice, she was lying down in front of the board
the board and everything, and he's just a translator. He's Jesus Christ! What's football commentary?
But that just shows you as well. But Paul, that's the guy.
Just being him, ain't that exactly, Mark? Isn't this?
He'll not just be their translator. He'll be kind of in charge of their life out here, Paul. Do you know what I mean? They're just on the end of the phone 24/7.
But that's it, Mark. Look,
they need something, and he sorts it out for them.
See, that's it. People just think he's a translator, but he's looking after them here. You know what I mean? So he's
another example of the feel-good factor, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know, the way to get them more involved.
exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying about Ange. Like for him, when he was lifting up the cup yesterday, when he was sitting on the podium, he called over every single part of his backroom team, down to physios, down to Stevie. Everyone was on the podium with him. Even when he was doing the manager of the month, like, he always made sure that there was backrooms. Like, he
That's
takes
back to Paul,
nothing.
how humble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mark. He
I
doesn't
mean,
take
Paul,
nothing that he did it. Like, you know
without
what I mean?
winding you up, Paul, you gave John Kennedy some pelters.
Mm.
You've
Oh,
got to
I
give
give
John
John
Kennedy
credit.
and
Did I
Reece
not say that
Stratton.
last week on the post? I said it was a joy to see John Kennedy, Gavin Strachan, and Ange hugging each other beside at the side of sidelines.
Even Stephen McManus, I just, and even there, what John was saying earlier
Right?
about
I
that video, he
heard
just
about
came in
Steve
here
McMahon.
himself. I mean,
I heard
just don't.
that Steve McMahon's has a big impact in training.
Oh, he's meant to be doing a good job,
Yeah.
aye.
Yeah, he is. He's supposed to be very good coach, Mark. Steve McManus. You know,
But
and
these guys
even,
that were getting crucified on social media and that last year, and
yeah, but
some
Mark,
of
they
it was
weren't
out.
doing.
Some of it, I'm not saying you were out of order, Paul. It's
But
just
they
a bit
weren't
of
doing the
banter.
job,
But
Mark, that they weren't doing. Do you get me? You see now, you see Gavin Strachan, and when the players come on,
it's Gavin
before they
Strang that's
go
telling
meet,
them
it's
what they're
Gavin
going to do.
Strachan what
Aye.
they need to do. Do you know what I mean? He has the data. He's a data analyst
Here's
of games.
another question. I don't know if I've said it before. Right, we missed out in the 10 in a row and we were got it. Every single one of us was got it. But what if they'd won that and been on with the Lennon and Lowell kind of?
We'd be still in the shambles, Mark, because Peter Lawler would be still there. It was going to eventually, Mark.
And Neil Lennon would still have been together. I mean, that's what if they'd won the 10 and everything just
The
kept
cracks,
trotting on the
Mark.
way it was.
We're going on about the club. We had JFP on at the start of the season, and we spoke to him about the board and stuff like that. If we'd have won the 10 in a row, Mark, that 10 in a row would have just covered up what was happening behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? And the crack.
But it would have been 10 in a row.
I know, but I think something.
Would have been 11 Welshie.
Well, 11, that's right.
But
Would it have been?
It's hard to tell, isn't it? You just don't know. I mean, the one good thing about this season is last season doesn't hurt so much anymore. Do you know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. No, it's like last season never happened, Reggie. You know, we should be like Rangers now and say that last season's cup win for them was void.
I mean, I've said that a long time as well. We point fingers at this, that, and the other about 10 in a row. 10 in a row would have happened if the fans were in last season.
Mm-hmm.
Aye, I think so as well.
See that video I was telling you about that shows Angie flying in, and you see McGregor walking off the park just when the league's lost last year. There's Rogic and McGregor coming off the park in the empty stadium. You actually almost forget just how black it was, how bleak it was last year.
Barry was saying that just with us in the podcast, Barry, you were saying there's certain clubs who feed off their fans, and Celtic is one of those clubs.
Well, it worked in the favour of the closed door champions, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it worked against us. I think the combination of the two was definitely a factor. I'm not convinced we'd have lost it if the fans had been in the stadium either.
Certain factors have been different. Lennon would not last season, so there's different factors would have come into play if the fans were in last season.
That's why Lennon was still in the job, Welchie, because the fans weren't in the stadium. You know,
I don't doubt in my mind if we were in last season, we'd have won it.
I would agree with that as well. I think I've seen that video you're talking about as well, John. Is it that?
Put that up in Discord, Mark. I haven't seen that.
I think it's that is that a Celtic video or is it that Tam Selleck's son?
It's a Tam Selleck. It was my lad that's in it. I think it's a Tam Selleck.
His videos are brilliant. That guy, isn't he? I've been seeing him quite a lot.
You then see the Rocky music. Is it the Rocky music in the background?
I can't remember.
Mark, put it up in Discord.
I'll dig it out. I will.
It's fantastic. The airplane, and that's what you realise as well. Is that Angie walks into this for all. I think you're right. I think he's a humble man. I don't think Paul, the term Paul used at the start, I think's bang on. I don't think it's about Angie for Angie. But I don't think you would mess him about either.
No,
he's obviously had the confidence to come in We
You know
know
what, JP, I think we saw.
in his own system and put it in place.
He's
I
got
think we
he's
saw
got
that.
self-confidence. He's not arrogant, isn't it? He's
No,
not.
Mark, but I think, Mark, we saw, because I said to you, Mark, all this scenario with Julian, I said if he chose Julian in at the weekend, we know now what kind of manager he is. He'd be a soft touch, but if he sticks to it, we know we have the right man in the job. And he did.
I think when you hear him talking about his father and
Yeah, exactly.
want to play the game the way his father would want to watch it, he talked about being Greek immigrants as well to Australia. No wonder it wasn't going to be hard for Angie
He said there then
to get what Celtic was all about. He had a great line. He said, "My parents," he says, "people say people immigrate to make a better life for themselves." He says, "My parents' life got worse. Couldn't speak the language, ostracised." He says,
he gets the whole Celtic immigration thing.
To make it better for their kids, wouldn't it?
To make it better for their kids. I mean, Eddie Howe could have been at Celtic for 101 years and he would never have got Celtic.
No.
Angie's just whatever they said by Moravcik was a gift for God. Angie's the same bracket for me.
I think with Eddie Howe, Mark, is only a temporary manager for Newcastle as well, just to keep them up. I think they might stick them next season, but when they start clearing out all these players, they're going to want the big face manager like.
They'll be fun. Exactly. Just to splash money out for.
Yeah, exactly. Because let's be honest.
As long as they didn't splash it on Ange, they could stay well away.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? You know.
I honestly don't think Ange would even think about leaving us this summer. For anybody, I really don't.
No. I think Mark is a contract coming.
He's here for the next step now, isn't he?
There's a contract incoming, which I think.
They're meant to be talking about a contract.
Yeah.
As I've said before, I mean, the guy, he's 57, 58 nearly. I'd leave him as a coach for the next 3 or 4 years, and then I would offer him a director of football kind of role. Definitely.
You see there as well, Mark. You see there as well that his kids are young. Does he want to up and root them now again to a different country as well? I don't think so, especially how his wife actually saw now as well yesterday, how much the Celtic fans love him. Do you know what I mean? You know?
You need to find out she's all right with the cold, but you know, it's just the take him back to Australia.
When you see him on with the jacket and the hood up and in the lashing rain, all right? You know?
He's got his jumper. It's fine.
You know, the Celtic Football Club got some sales out of those jumpers, didn't they?
I heard them saying that's a couple of interviews I've heard with Australian TV. There's a couple of good points he made. They said the other day that he's never seen as many of these cork hats in his life. It's obviously nobody wears them in Australia, so it's obviously hilarious to him, mate. It's probably like us managing a team in Australia.
See you, Jimmy, dressed up like him.
That's like him with a kilt or a Jimmy wig.
Even they brought kangaroos, JFP.
There's a couple behind me yesterday that both had the cork hats and 2 inflatable kangaroos. That must be a...
Well, do you wear the hats?
Oh, no.
An inflatable sheep she's got.
That's for home.
Do you mean you're talking about dedication, Mark, from Celtic fans there? And we have to speak about the man on the bike to us there. Like, Welchie, like, he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Goes up, like fair juice to Welchie, boy. Do you know what I mean? In fairness, like,
it's been a quiet season for me this year, to be honest. I've missed a lot this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I've really enjoyed the last 3 weeks. I mean, that's the first I've done 3 in a row this season, and it's like, oh shite, it's over now.
Yeah, do you know what? Welchie just said that on Discount the other day. Like this season has been such a joy to watch. Like, I just didn't want it to end. I mean, it was a joy watching Celtic again at the weekends, watching how we played football, the fans united with the team. You know, it was just to have it come to an end, and top of the table. Like, it's been remarkable. Like what this season has.
I said the feel good factor is back.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable to go. You're there with all your pals. You're there watching the team, and it's they're playing for you. It's just phenomenal at the minute.
Do you know what I thought was astonishing, Barry, on Wednesday night when we beat Dundee United and they didn't get back to Celtic Park till about 11:30, 12, and there was thousands. But I think, Mark, was like 20, 30,000 fans there said something, was it?
But 30.
About 30,000 Celtic fans in the middle of the night waiting for the Celtic team to come home.
You gullible fucker.
Well, it was about 20, 30 fans there. It was. You know?
Think about that now, Paul.
I know what he said. I know what he meant. What do you think of?
But
You think of last season when they put the barriers around to stop Celtic fans protesting outside it. Like what 12 months has changed the club, Barry?
it just shows what it means to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, and like we've talked about earlier, iconic titles throughout the last sort of 20, 30 years.
Definitely.
This is up there, if not the best. And I said earlier, because of where we were this time last year, to have actually achieved it. And listen, whether we like it or not, the team on the opposite side of the city, there's not much between the teams now. It is a competitive league.
Yes.
When you put, throughout the 9 in a row that we achieved for the second time, a lot of it was done uncompetitively. Well, now there is, and I think the fans realise that, and it just shows how much that this season meant to everybody. That midnight there's 30,000 out there supporting the club, watching them coming off the bus. For me, it just shows how much this title meant to everybody.
And for the players to interact with the fans afterwards as well, and Anstey,
exactly.
It was the whole package. A few of the boys I was talking to were there, and they were saying they couldn't believe how well that. It wasn't a case of just turning up and celebrating the bus, not about in the stadium. They were all out. They were all shaking people's hands, taking pictures.
Mm-hmm. Even Mark, like Joe Hart there, like who's won it all down in England, like. He said he was actually gobsmacked by the Celtic support and everything coming out the other night. He said he hasn't seen that down the south, like people turned up in the middle of the night to cheer on their club.
There's probably more outside Celtic Park than Man City get for their home games, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the kind of levels we're talking about. Do you know what I mean? If fair dues, he's won the Premier League and stuff like that, but Joe Hart will never have seen anything like that in his life.
It's the Celtic Park is totally different club to once any club that's down the south, like in this.
You can imagine when he retires, he'll talk more about his memories of
Yeah. Did you see then after JFP, did you see it on ITV when Yasser was actually taking penalties on Joe Hart's son inside the goal after the celebrations finished? He was outside taking shots at Joe Hart's little son. I mean, that's just the connection that's there between all the players. Like,
I noticed Joe Hart when Joe Hart was when the fans when they came back from Dundee the other night there, you could see it in Joe Hart more than anybody possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, the Japanese player looked as if they hadn't a clue what was going on.
No.
Exactly. I saw that yesterday when JFP in the dressing rooms when they were showing the champagne everywhere. DJ they did. What was going on?
They did a lap on her twice yesterday.
Wow.
I think I was in the stadium. I'm not sure. Don't quote me this, but I think I must have been in the stadium an hour or an hour and a half. I think after the final whistle.
Unbelievable.
I don't ever remember that before.
See, when they were standing on the cinch podium, waiting in the cup for the first time and doing the countdown for 10. Yogo didn't know what was going on, and he was just moving his hands and watching and trying. And he was looking at the corner of his eye, waiting, and everybody jumping about so that he could jump about, knowing when to get it right with the timing and that.
I don't know how many times Kogo went back up to that corner for me beside the game.
He was saying that, yeah.
This is it. You could see him thinking, if I go up here and I jump up and down and put my right and left arm up, my right arm up, all these nutters go nuts.
That's why I actually couldn't see Kyogo leave, Mark, because of the way he actually loves the Celtic fans. Do you know what I mean?
John says here, he'll not have a clue what's going on, but
no.
he'll sense the goodness in it and he's enjoying it. And just must have blew their minds, really.
And they were saying that.
Everything a bit here and there spoke about it, so kind of different culture, everything's about respect and you know what I mean? For them to come into an atmosphere like that yesterday, just people going daft for jumping about dancing and that's going to blow their mind.
Even that, Mark, they asked Joe Hart as well, like, Joe, you're going to be back in the Champions League next season. Do you ever think this day? And he said no. He never thought he'd be back in the Champions League again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's phenomenal, like, Mark, that you see a keeper who 12 months ago's career was finished. To come to a club.
Really, the best he was going to get was slogging his guts out, fighting off relegation or stuff like that, or sitting on a bench.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? This season has been, I think for me anyway, has been the best season than any of the 9 in a row, and it's definitely up there. I can still remember listening to the radio when Harold Brackbeck got that goal.
That's right up. Yesterday was right up there with
definitely.
For me, Paul.
I'm the same.
You know what I mean? I've never.
You're talking about Joe Hart there as well. It's a perfect example of somebody who's not just going to see it his last couple of years and take his money.
No, he wants to play.
He's also the type of character he is. You imagine he's got lots of. You know, we talked about before about bringing a centre forward, and it might be maybe no. A Defoe type player or something like that, you were saying. Or,
he asked after being
you
on the
can
keeper,
imagine
I'd be ready.
His pal saying, look, why don't you come up here?
Yeah. He said it. He said they asked him, Mark, about the Champions League, and the commentator said, look, there'll be new players coming in. He said, look, that happens at a club, but he says, I've been given a chance here. He says, I'm not giving up this chance. He said, if there comes in, I'd be ready for it. And I'd be ready to be number one next season.
I didn't really. As I say, I don't. My brain stops at Carlisle. I'm not interested in anything that happens down there. I didn't know a lot about Joe Hart as a person, however, but I've really taken to the guy. You talked about the celebrations to come back from Dundee the other night. You can see he's every week when he's walked around the park for the lap on. We always go. I come out of my seat and I go down and I go and stand at that bit beside the Green Brigade, just because I'm down face to face with the players. I couldn't do it yesterday because everybody was in the stadium.
You don't stand with one of the big signs asking for tops and boots and that, do you, John?
No. That's what.
How no?
If they take a national flag, that was your way in yesterday. Everybody had a Portugal flag. Jot over. You had the. But every week I've paid particular attention to Joe Hart, and I don't know whether it's because it's at that stage his career, but you can see him. He's taking
enjoying it, John. Indeed,
he's a better song though.
100%. It's whether it's maybe a stage of his career, he's maybe appreciated it more.
Appreciated more, exactly. Yeah, that's the right word.
Life's like a tube of toothpaste. You waste it at the start when you open a new one, but by the time you get to the end, you try to squeeze every wee bit out of it. That's just how Joe Hart looks like to me. He's just really, really. For some reason, he's just embraced what the club's about for us, and I think.
He's done it with his performances, hasn't he?
Say again.
He's more importantly, he's done it with his performances. It's not just how he's taken the club in. He's a character.
He's not just a badge kisser. He's turning the base.
You've got that, but it's not even. I don't even think it's just his performances. It's what he's given to the team as well, and beyond that, because he's just an out and out winner. You can see that.
Like what he's done too, Mark, behind the scenes. With the young lad Toby is supposed to be unbelievable as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's supposed to be. I'm not going on about Toby again, Welch. You don't worry.
Is that the time?
It's Toby time. Paul, see the thing about it. See when he walked into Celtic dressing room. I mean, this is Joe Hart. There'd be players, really, there would be. I mean, Barry, how would you have felt if somebody like that walked into your dressing room? Well, Barry, probably the players you had at Dundee.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I'm not name dropping or anything, but back that time, we had guys like Caniggia, Claudio Caniggia coming into changing him, Tamuri Skpe. Bear in mind, this is a sort of a Dundee team that had only been sort of promoted into the SPL for a couple of seasons. And then all of a sudden you've got guys like Caniggia, Fabrizio Ravanelli.
Remember Ravanelli?
Me as a young guy in that team, struck us with the words, you're used to other players, Willie Faulkner and these guys, and all of a sudden you've now got guys like Skpe, Caniggia, Ravanelli coming through the door. It was bizarre, but what a boost it gives you, and to be able to share training sessions with these guys.
Was that after Middlesbrough? He went up there, Barry, was it? Ravanelli?
Yeah.
Barry, if they spoke, you were listening, isn't it?
something as well, and listen, I've no doubt that Joe Hart's the same. They're very keen to give everybody advice. You know, they're not just there to pick up wages and to give it the big I am. You know, they were always passing on bits of information, especially to younger players, trying to help them, talk them through training sessions. There's no doubt in my mind, Joe Hart will be exactly the same, even with the young keepers, the young players, anybody that's willing. He'll be willing to offer them wee bits of advice and wee nuggets that they'll be able to take and find them valuable going forward.
You can imagine he's even giving Carter Vitt some good advice as well.
Next move. Well, what about, like, there's another player. I know he's been around the block, out on loan and stuff like that. But while he's been at Tottenham, he's been around big players. Do you know what I mean? So if you look at Cameron Vickers, yeah, exactly.
Joe
and you
Hart
look
was at Tottenham when he was there, so.
But that's what I'm saying. Do you mean Vickers is a big personality too? I'd say in the dressing room as well, with experience. And you could see that on the pitch then as well, Barry. You know?
You know, well, I don't need to say any more about Carter Vickers. You know how I feel about him, but you know, to have that experience, and like the guys have already touched on it earlier, that there's without doubt a togetherness. You could see the squad.
Definitely,
like a real
absolutely
close-knit unit, and you've seen the way they celebrate together, even with each other's families. I'm sure you all saw it at the end. You know, they were all interacting with each other's families. It was absolutely brilliant to see. They definitely seemed like Ange has brought a togetherness within this squad, and it's obviously reaped the benefits.
That to me, Barry, that's got to be coming for Angie. That's why I don't think we can pay him enough plaudits here tonight. But you know, the style of play down to him, the recruitment largely down to him. I think we've agreed. I don't think the 4 Japanese players would be here. The fact that he managed to knit a squad back together again that was that had collapsed, and to see them as a unit. I can't remember seeing the togetherness, as you said there. When you see them celebrating there, it's fantastic. Yesterday was just something else to watch. There's obviously happy doing what they're doing. Fantastic.
Julian apart. You've not even heard this season of Bemby moaning about not playing the next game or whatever game. They just go about their business when they're picked to play, when they're taken after. It's just they've all got on with it, haven't they?
There was no one like. Like, going back to what you were saying there, like if someone was getting subbed, there was no one pissed off that they were getting subbed or anything like that. Like, you know what I mean? There was just togetherness, like, you know what I mean? And the best tackle I saw at Celtic Park yesterday was by the Stewart. And if you see
Did you see that when they were talking to Martin O'Neill? I know that was a belter, wasn't it?
That was some tackle that fight.
There was loads of wee boys on the pitch.
He was only about 10-year-old, too.
I know that, Mark, but then, like, as you said, like, they had all the families on the pitch then as well.
No, you can understand. It was just it's silliness. It's really silliness.
The guy who was singing in the park yesterday, he sings at Parkhead, the guy called Liam McGrandles. Did you see him singing yesterday? He was on the park at
he was good when he was good.
He sings a song. If ever he's got a chance to... It's funny because you need to get the version. There's a version with the footage on it. It's a song called "The White and the Green." We're all part of the white and the green, and it shows you there's images of Glasgow's East End, and the poverty, and it's you need to get the right one with the images on it. But the words and the footage in the back is just absolutely fantastic. If you can watch it and no great, I'll buy you a drink the first time I see you.
Bye, man. Anyway.
The white and the green, but as I said, it's the one that he's got a few different versions, but it's the one's got images of Glasgow's East End. It's got images of down 3 years we've had our heroes, Johnson, McNeil, Tommy Burns, Paul McStay, and it shows you some of the iconic images of them as well. It's worth a listen if he's got a chance to listen to the words yet. Bring a.
Mark, we were supposed to have Mark, we were supposed to have a cigarette tonight. John. You know, darling, but I say John is probably still out in Celtic Park celebrating at this stage. I say.
See if I can find it. If I can find it, Mark, I'll maybe try to email it to you.
Just send us an email.
If you can maybe stick it up in the.
Do that, John. I'll get it up.
Yeah.
I don't know where John is. He phoned Paul yesterday. Steamboat. Paul feels like a superstar whenever he gets John on the phone. They're all pure chuffed. Oh, Paul, how you doing?
Lads, I'm speaking to Paul now, the fella on the podcast, the Irish fella. The Irish fella that be on the podcast. I was like, Jesus Christ. Then they go, say something. And you're talking about steaming now, like these fellas were steaming yesterday, like, Jesus Christ, like, you know. That's it for tonight, lads. Thanks to Barry, Brian, John, Terence.
That was some hour, John.
Aye, I know, aye.
For myself and
I think
Mark,
I'm get poked in the eye here.
for Mark and myself, lads, the podcast could be not without all of you coming on throughout the season. It's short notices or freaking no notice sometimes. You know, you're always there. Terence has come on, stepped in a lot of times for us. Barry has come on, Welchie has come on, even abroad. Welchie has come on for us in the Celtic's European adventures that he didn't know he was on live. You know, lads. Seriously, it's a big thanks from Mark and myself to you, from Michael to John, United Ireland. You really added something different individually when you came onto this podcast, and certainly the podcast would be nothing without your intake every week when you come on with us.
I'm filling up here.
Huh?
I'm filling up here.
Yeah, but it has, Mark. I mean,
No, definitely. I know, Paul.
Come on to us, man. Do you know what I mean?
It would be nothing without any of them. Do you know what I mean? The forum, even on the podcast, even the live chat with the guys that come in there, and that's, we really, really appreciate everybody that helps us do this. We really do.
Even I don't take the piss. Take the piss out of me. Like, you know, you're still genuine guys coming on here with us. Mark, do you want to close the show, buddy?
Oh, just thanks for everybody what you're saying there, Paul. All the guys that have come on the night and all through the season. Everybody that's joined the live chat, really appreciate it. And remember, just subscribe, hit the like button, and if you know how, leave a comment. Thanks very much. Good night, hail, and God bless.